Yeah. Na'ata Hitchani Chukwatlet Huu-Ay-Aht Hislinahku. I'd like to call everybody in. We're about to get underway here. On behalf of Clishin and all of the people of Huu-Ay-Aht, I just wanted to get this off on a good start for today. That Seika is the very most spiritual way to pray, and it's always such a good thing to do when we get together as family, as a nation, as our people, and that's exactly what this Seika is talking about. It's talking about giving praise to the ones that hold on to their family, that hold on to their house and to their tribe, and that's what it's all singing about. It's giving praise to those that hang on and cherish the things that we love most: our family, our territory, the foods we eat, everything that we have. It's a result of our territory, and the song comes from the house Apwinis at Clishin. And I'm always very honored when I get a chance to sing this song. And while I'm talking about Clishin and Apwinisat, I want to remind, especially for our candidates here today that are running for office, about this territory. This is, we know it to be Huu-Ay-Aht, but there's also an extended history of that. So we all know that in 1700 there was a tsunami that devastated the village of Anacla. And there was a time just prior to contact where we were all smaller tribes but separate, and it was different things that made us get together and amalgamate to make one nation, the Huu-Ay-Aht. And what does that mean to be Huu-Ay-Aht? What does that mean? It means that we are the people of resilience. It means that no matter what obstacles life is going to throw our way, whether it be tsunami, whether it be famine, whether it be warfare. Our people are always going to find a way to not only survive, but to thrive. And I wanted to leave that message with all of you here today because I am very honored to see that we have so many candidates running for our office. It shows that there's a great respect and a care for our nation and bringing our people forward. So I just wanted to serve that as a reminder to you on behalf of my aunties, Jane and Terry, Nora, and all the descendants of late Aggie Peters, Aggie Jack. She was given this as her dowry when she married Cleishan. So there's a lot of history in our village, and I'm really looking forward to tonight's candidate meeting. So, tleko, chu.
Couple announcements really quick. Saturday morning, Joshua, Jeff Cook, Cleishan, Derek Peters have asked Huu-Ay-Aht people to come out to support the cruise ship coming to Port Alberni. So all of you people that are here, let's be there to support our chiefs and what they want us to help them with. And then second, Norman has ended up in the hospital again. And the family were just asking that you have your prayers in mind for him because he is actually quite weak now. He got out a couple of days ago and he was right back in the hospital again. True?
Good evening. My name's Nigel Atkin, and I'm here on behalf of the Commissioner, Kit Spence, and I'll be working with you tonight to hear your introductions of about a minute and a half for the chief candidates and a minute for the other councillors. And then we're going to have some questions from the audience and from online, and I'll do my best to keep everybody within a minute. This is the fourth all candidates meeting, and I thank you for inviting me to Anacla to witness this one. I'll be in Port Alberni tomorrow night as well. You're used to the process by now, and I hear things are going well. The mail-in ballots are coming in. We're picking them up and every day at the post office, and so that's a good thing. So we will start and have the candidates for chief start, and we're going alphabetically by first name tonight, and this I'll try and keep things going along as you will help me. So I look forward to hearing from you, and we have the online people and the people here, people online watching. So best of luck to everybody. We look forward to hearing from you, and we'll start tonight with introductions, starting with Benny, if we may.
Good evening, everybody.
Check, 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 1, 2. It's on, it's working. Don't have to press the button.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. If you don't know my name is Ben Clappus. My late mom was Annie Clappus. My father was Andy Clappus. Just to let you know a little bit about me, I've lived at home here since 1981, and I worked in the forestry industry, I worked in the fishing industry, and then I got introduced to council. I've been on council for just finishing up on my 19th year, and through that time I've looked after community human services, which is health and education. And then this year, or this term, I've looked after education, employment, and training for 2 years, and I got switched up to lands and resources, which is a whole new ball game and a learning experience for me with a lot of good help, a lot of good resource people, and I wish to carry on in that. No matter which position I'm running for chief, I'm running for council, and I will be happy to work with Huu-Ay-Aht a lot longer. Too.
Good evening, everybody. We've achieved great success, but we're due for a reality check. On February 9th, I believe that should have been our reality check. our golden goose is set to fly away. We passed an absolute huge budget a month later. We did not get that reality check that we needed. I've sat on the Finance Committee for the last year. I personally do not like what I see as a forecast. That's my opinion. We talk about building our community, moving people home. This Thursday, we have a premiere here in the hall called Coming Home. What are we actually doing to get there? Education, reliable daycare, housing. Those are the three key things we need in order to actually do it. It's fine to make a movie or a video, but we need to actually walk the walk. We need a plan, and I'm here to provide that plan. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Dwayne Nookmis. My mother is Linda Young. My grandparents were the late Edward and Mabel Nookmis. I've had the privilege of working for HFN for the last 30 years with Fisheries and Forestry Department on the West Coast Trail. I think you all know, and hunting and fishing on our territory. And I think I'll agree with Charlie that it is an important election and we need to be a little bit more fiscally responsible. I think we need to start investing in our youth. I think we need to start investing in our younger people and get them trained to take the jobs that we have available. And we got to start looking within our own territory and take advantage of things that we're not taking advantage of. We have lots of jobs, but we have no Huu-Ay-Ahts working in them, and we need to figure out why. And if we want people to move home, we need to train them, and we need to make a proper plan that keeps us financially stable. And I look forward to your questions.
Hello, everyone. My name is John Jack, and I am running for re-election to the position of council and potentially election to the position of chief councillor. I bring about 12 years of service to the Huu-Ay-Aht First Nations, either through a committee or as a direct result of employment with the nation, and about 10 years, or very near 10 years, of council experience. In my time, I've seen the coming in of treaty and the advent of self-government. And in that time, I've seen our nation expand and create opportunities for people. What I'd like to do is continue the work and ensure that we do what is necessary to create the nation that we always think should have been. And that we can work together to create a nation that will be very strong and resilient, where we not only live our culture and values, but everyone can rightly expect to have the same opportunities as living anywhere else. In my heart, I believe that you're Huu-Ay-Aht no matter where you live, but that you're not Huu-Ay-Aht unless you have a connection to the land as well. And I think with that in mind, we need to ensure that we do the right things to allow for our people to have the community that they've always wanted here in Anacla and in our territory. There's information online about my platform and what it is I'm doing, as well as in the back. Please have a look. And thank you.
Good evening. Oklahoma M. Chaik, Huu-Ay-Aht. I want to first say that, in my view, citizens are here to be heard. Citizens are here to be seen. And it's very important that citizens feel part of the nation. And I believe that's an area that we need to apply more work to. We need to make our citizens feel more Huu-Ay-Aht than they do today. And another thing is that when we have employable Huu-Ay-Aht people living in Anacla and they're not given jobs, that is unacceptable. We are going to strive to make sure that our employable people at Anacla are working for their nation and earning a reasonable income and have a sustainable job that can keep them and provide them for year-round. From a financial perspective, I can assure you that people are envying what Huu-Ay-Aht is today. We are probably one of the more wealthier nations in the province.
We are definitely one of the most wealthiest nations in New Trauma Tribal Council. We have had 4 straight balanced budgets. As a matter of fact, I should say and correct that, we've had surplus budgets. Surplus budgets is where your revenue exceeds your expenditures. And we are currently in negotiations with the Government of Canada for a fiscal financing agreement, and we anticipate to increase that substantially.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to the councilors' candidates. Mike, number 2, starting with Becky Nicholas. Thank you. You'll have 1 minute.
Hello, everyone. My name is Becky Nookmis. I'm going to skip the whole other intro because I think most of you know who I am. I think moving forward, we have to focus on getting together as community, so that sort of connection. I think when we're talking about healing, we focus a lot on addictions, but the reality of trauma and intergenerational trauma is that it shows up as anxiety, it shows up as depression. And so how do we heal from that? How do we move forward as a nation? We have to make those connections, and we have to connect with each other, and we have to connect with our land. And I don't think we've done that enough over the last 4 years. So I think when people feel like they have a purpose and they feel like they belong to community, that they'll feel empowered. I think that we have to focus on education and individualized post-secondary and trades education, because I don't think a one-size-fits-all policy works for some people. I think if you live in Vancouver, the cost of living is a lot different than the cost of living in Port Alberni. So how do we kind of make it work for people? How do we encourage people who may not be able to afford to go to school or move to Port Alberni or move to Nanaimo? How can we help them?
Uklama Henitinius, Huu-Ay-Aht, Brittany Johnson, Huu-Ay-Aht, Ojibwe-Aht, Histakshitla Chachasius, Uhukwa Nutwixu Larry Johnson, Uhukwa Umiaksu Darlene Lino, Uhukwada Nananiaksu Gordon Ish Virginia Cook, Huu-Ay-Aht, Kenny Ish Joan Johnson. My name is Brittany Johnson. I have been asking people to address me as Hinitinya, so that is a preference that I've been taken on since I became a language learner. They've asked me how I can put my language into everyday life, and I thought that was the best way that I could do it. I have really been enjoying going to all the different communities over the last few weeks and listening to citizens ask questions, really, really tough questions, and I'm really happy that you're all here, and I look forward to the questions that you share tonight. Chew.
Thank you for coming out tonight. Sharing my life with you has allowed you to see me grow. Like everyone else, there are good and bad times, struggles and pain, but also joy and pride and unconditional love. I continue to learn not only from the experience, but from you, the people, always knowing that it is the strength, wisdom, and guidance of others that empowers me to always strive to do better personally and professionally. Living my life with integrity, doing what's right, has always been important to me. It is not always easy, and not everyone may agree. If given the opportunity to represent you, this is what you will continue to see. It won't make me popular at times, feelings may be hurt, or offense taken. We are all human, and that is normal reaction. My job is to represent all of you, make decisions based on the best interest of all Huu-Ay-Aht citizens.
Chu Naatit Shani, Uklama, Klisnitsuk, Stakshakla, Huu-Ay-Aht. My name is Edward Ralph Johnson. My dad is Ed Johnson. My mother is Donna Shaw Knighton. And I'm happy to be home. And I love all the faces out here. And look forward to this evening. And I just wanted to say Kliko for coming out, and I look forward to the questions. Thank you. Chu.
As you know, my name is Ronald Evan Cook. Most of you know my name as Evan. Some of the older folks, Billy Beans, Robert, you can call me Reverend. As my grandfather called me Baldy, so I don't know why. I'm blessed to come from 2 families. The family of my birth mother, Hazel Cook, and the family of my mom that raised me as her own, Agnes and Shorty Dennis. Sadly, residential schools took all of us kids away from them all, and our culture. And some of us, a lot of us are still dealing with that, of course, cut off from our heritage. It makes me so happy to see many of us return and want to contribute to the well-being of all our members. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Uklama Homaniki, Irene Peters. My parents are Ben and Clara Clappus, and Nora Peters and late Spencer Peters. I grew up in the Anacla community, only recently left in the last 8 years. I am raising an 11-year-old daughter, Huu-Ay-Aht, Olivia Peters. I have worked for our nation for 15 to 16 years, and other First Nations organizations for 5 years. That includes Manu Treaty Society, Nutano Tribal Council, Kuasa, and Sishat First Nation. I have a ranging capacity of administrative, management, and leadership. I am proud to be nominated to run for Executive Council seat. I've always taken great pride in working for our nation, and I'm proud to see our accomplishments in the last 20 years. I know that if given the chance, I will work hard. I'm dedicated to.
Chu Uklama Ayachistus Istakshit Huu-Ay-Aht. My name is Jack Cook. My name I received from my grandmother, Mary Moses. What else can I say? Myself, I'm honored to be up here to be one of the candidates to represent Huu-Ay-Aht. Should you put a little X beside this name here. I've got a lot of experience working with federal governments. Of course, NTC. I've worked for Huu-Ay-Aht also. And I've been married for 46 years, winking at each other before that, though. We have 3 kids, 4 grandchildren, and I'll be more than happy to talk to you about other stuff. So I just gave you a quick 1-minute version of who I am, what I do. Here's a 3-minute version here in the back table, and the bigger version was in the mail. Chew.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming out. I'm Kim MacDonald, Kimmy, or Kimberly, whatever you want to call me. My mother is Marilyn Cote, Nee Clappus, and my father is late Bill McDonald. My grandparents were Annie Clappus and Andy Clappus. I have 2 older sisters. I have a wonderful son who's going to be 18 this month, Tristan, and I got a really supportive partner, Nathan, who will be with us tomorrow. I've been working for Huu-Ay-Aht First Nations Government Office for almost 3 years now with knowledge in the Economic Development Department. I've worked alongside our Huu-Ay-Aht and Chief Counselor, and now I was currently in Travel and Events Clerk. I have a background in forestry, fisheries, and a lot in emergency response as firefighter, paramedic. What else? I'm glad to be here tonight. Why I'm advocating to, or why I'm running to be a council is to help provide adequate care for our elders, fairness and equality for all Huu-Ay-Aht citizens. That's it.
Go? Okay. Hi there. I just wanted to say how happy I am to see such a great turnout here. Way to go, everyone. Some of you are probably wondering who I am. My name is Nicole Malcolmson. I'm the great-granddaughter of Robert and Julie Johnson. Ruby and Jerry Burkholder are my grandparents, and Ruby Ann and the late Norman McCready are my parents. I'm a mother of 3 wonderful children, and I'm also studying to become an Indigenous doula to help support families and women in labor and postpartum stages. I'm a caregiver, an artist, and a leader. I'm here to support the unique families and individuals of Huu-Ay-Aht. I want to hear from you instead of me telling you what your needs are. Some of the needs I feel like we need are daycare and education. We need support for those struggling and aging and unable to care for themselves. We need to do this while balancing our budget, creating jobs, and building homes. I'll share my needs with you. I need to help our nation succeed. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Uklama, Na'a'aks, Sheila Charles. I'm happy to see everyone here tonight. It's a better turnout than Nanaimo. Go Anacla. Before I was on council 8 years ago, I was working for Parks Canada for 14 years, and I quit working for the federal government because I said if I'm going to work for a government, I'm going to go work for my own government. So I quit and I came over to Huu-Ay-Aht, my government. Just a few things since I've been on council. It's been a huge learning curve, but I'm the first and only councillor to ever draw down a jurisdiction. That's part of treaty. I drew down the post-secondary education agreement. That's why we're allowed to pay for trades training now and do whatever we want and provide all the supports to see our students be successful. My most important and huge project is the social service, which is keeping children together and families together and bringing children home and connecting with family and language and community and everything. I went to the federal government and BC and got almost $5 million to support this program. And I look forward to doing more.
Hello, everyone. For those of you who might not know me, my name is Sherry. My traditional name is Tutatukwith. My parents are Jeff and Laverne Cook. My grandparents are Fanny and Alec Williams. My proudest accomplishment at this current second is that I have 3 wonderful children, and they give me purpose all the time, and that's why I'm here. I want to make sure that we as a group provide amazing opportunities and lifestyle for our children. My daughter's name is Sarita, and I'm so proud that I'm from here, and I want to work with all of you to create and build a positive lifestyle for all of our children, our grandchildren, and beyond.
Ready? Thanks. Uklama Yaksit, Trevor Coots. Hello, everybody. It's great to see everybody out. I'm running for re-election, and remembering last time we had our all candidates meeting down here 4 years ago, there was a much less crowd here. So it's great to see everybody out and interested and wanting to ask questions to the candidates. Just want to acknowledge Klatsmeek, Nora, Jane, Teresa, Chachis, and everybody online. Thank you for joining. Over the last few years, I've held the economic development portfolio, external communications with the federal government, as well as training and employment. We've seen our businesses grow over the past few years, job opportunities grow, and we need to continue that growth. And I think one of the main focuses over the next few years is definitely training and employment. We have way more citizens than we had 4 years ago or 8 years ago. How do we create a succession plan for individuals to be successful on their own or successful working with Huu-Ay-Aht, either in government or a group of businesses? Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you all for coming out tonight. For those who don't know me, I'm Valerie Bellwood. I'm the granddaughter of late Annie and Andy Clappis. I am the middle daughter of Marilyn Clappis and the late William MacDonald. I am a single mother. My son Scott is 25. My daughter is 4.5 years old, and my granddaughter Kylie is 3.5 years old. I am on my 11th year of owning a successful business in Port Alberni, which is Alberni Color Corner Benjamin Moore. I have been on the board of directors for the Huu-Ay-Aht group of businesses for the last 6.5 years, so I've got to watch a lot of our businesses grow, which is amazing. I'm here today because I feel that we need a change and a fresh start and a new direction of leadership. I feel we as shareholders need to be comfortable with the leadership that controls our investments and our future sustainability. We as shareholders need to know where our money is being spent and to encourage education and growth and Kleco. Sorry.
Again, I'm back. I apologize. Thank you for your introductions. And now we'll take some questions from the floor, if we may. And you can direct your questions to the candidates for chief or the councillors or to everybody if you wish. Just state your preference and go for it. Thank you very much.
Here I am. I'm going to go for it.
Excellent.
Okay, all you candidates, I read that stuff that I got in the mail. Is that the truth you guys are saying? Or as soon as you get nominated, are you going to throw that in the garbage and turn your backs on us? You know, there's a lot of people that's done that since I've been wise enough to understand what's going on with our government and stuff. They say they're going to do all this stuff, but then they ended up not doing what they said they're going to do. You know, and I find that's bullshit. But anyways, there's another question I would like to say is, we got to add, when you guys get into chief and council now there, I would like to see your guys' wages and our assemblies all the time, what you guys make a year and all that. And another question is, I would like you guys to start looking at our watershed and our logging and all this stuff here, and I would like $5 a cubic meter off of every logging area to go in every one of our rivers, creeks, and streams. And that's what I would like to see.
All right.
And,
what is your specific question to all the candidates?
My specific question is, don't bullshit a bullshitter, because we see it when it happens, eh? You know, you know. But listen, when you guys have assemblies and all this stuff here, us people, all us Huu-Ay-Aht members and all this here, we would like you guys to listen to us and go for what we say, not for what you guys make up and do on your own. You know, it's about time you guys start listening to us people.
We need a specific question.
That's
Thank you very much.
a specific question.
All right.
Be honest.
All right. Let's rephrase that. How are you listening to the public and your citizens and your residents in this territory? We'll just work away from Valerie first. You have a minute, and we'll just work our way right across.
Usually have time to think about this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have shared the same concerns with everything that's been going on and over the years, of course. And what I'd like to see, I'm not in it for the money. I'm in here because I'm a business person. I understand business. I understand we need housing. I would like to see us flourish as well. And I'm not going to BS a BSer. But as a team, if we get the right team involved, we all have to work together in leadership to make sure that we can start up here, work our way down, and try to make everybody happy. And for your term, though, we're not going to make everybody happy. But your concerns are very important to us and what we need to do for the nation. Does that work? Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Rick. To answer that in a minute, I think what I would speak to is there's definitely always a need to make sure leadership, the organization, both our government and our businesses, are listening to our citizens here at home and abroad. And I think there's always room for improvement. And I think one of the things that can be definitely improved on is when we do listen to citizens, how we communicate that back. So one, we do it individually with citizens, but also we should be doing it in a way that when we have people's assemblies, is being able to communicate things out to citizens effectively so that they do hear, that we do reflect that we are listening to the citizens. So, choo. Choo.
Thank you, Rick, for your concerns and your questions. I don't think you said anything that other people in the room haven't thought, for sure. I think I speak the truth And my being here, I've always told my own children, do what you would do even if you didn't get paid. I would advocate for my people, always. And part of that is listening. It's listening via email, text message, Facebook, phone calls, and any other avenue possible. And I truly believe that we have some gaps that need to be filled. And disclosing what wages are is an important thing for trust. And I'll tell you honestly, I'm not here for the money. I am a true believer that Huu-Ay-Aht can be strong and even stronger than where we are, and change might hurt a little, but we'll get there. And we're holding on to tradition, but we're embracing the power of the future as well.
True.
True.
Sheila.
Thanks for the question. First of all, my one complaint about being on council in the past 8 years is that things don't happen as fast as we would like them to. I have I don't think, ever made promises that I couldn't keep, and everything that I do say that I'm going to work on while I'm on council, I have done. And when I'm not sure, I'm continually listening and talking with citizens to find out what it is that everybody needs supports in, and that's what I go after, and that's what I work on. But definitely the communication needs to be mastered. And also, I would invite more citizens to come to our council meetings, to sit in on our council meetings and hear what we discuss and how we come to the decisions that we make, because a lot of them are not easy to make. Yeah. Oh.
Thank you. Nicole.
Oh, am I on? Oh, yes. There I am. Ricky. I was looking forward to when you got up. Very valid concerns and points. It's all crossed our mind about the transparency, and I think it's important for everyone to trust each other, that we can see what the sliding pay scales look like in Huu-Ay-Aht. Also, I just wanted to mention about the forestry thing as well too. I think we did pass that at the People's Assembly, did we not? For the $5? One block? Well, that should be opened up and reviewed. Okay. Well, I just wanted to say that I'm going to conduct myself with honesty and integrity, and I've been a fairly open book this far, and I feel like this fits into my beliefs as a person, and that this is important of us as a leader. So, no bullshit in here, boss.
Kimberly.
Thank you, Rick, for your question. Since I've been working for Huu-Ay-Aht, I have seen a lot of things that I believe need to be changed as well. I like to follow the guidelines that are laid out for us in our legislation, and would like to see more of that happen. I do believe in honesty and confidentiality. I do believe that a lot of the in-camera stuff needs to be gotten rid of, so we can have some true transparency going on. We do have a few citizens that show up to the executive council meetings, and I think more people should be there to listen what's going on. And yeah, don't bullshit a bullshitter, Rick. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. All my years of working, I've always made myself available to listen to what people are saying, and I hear what they say. The unfortunate part of today's world is that when you're on council, you have 7 members on council that have to try to reach consensus on the subject of discussions. As mentioned earlier, you can't always make everybody happy, but sitting on council, we all try to do the best we can. And I've always done that. True.
Irene, thank you.
That's a good question. Thank you. Is it on? I feel the same way. I too have been away for 8 years because I feel like I was driven from my community. I'm being bold in saying that, and I don't feel like I was valued with all of my contributions and knowledge. And all of us want to feel inclusive. All of us want to feel valued. And I hear you 100%. And I think that I am somebody, that is the reason why I'm running. I come back after 8 years of investing in myself is because I feel that I am connected with everybody. I have an honest heart and I walk with integrity. I walk the walk in my own life too. And I can tell you that I can do my best. That's what I can promise. Chew.
Well, that's a great question, sir. I think communication is so important, right? Especially between a council, office staff, create people. We really have a divide here of the have-nots, you know. I mean, I see young people craving for a healthier relationship. And they're always looking for advice in so many areas. You know, 85% of their problems stem from how they feel. You know, parenting. And especially the elder, I think it's important we take time to listen to them, their needs. They have so much to offer, whether it's culture, business advice. Just be kind to everyone. Each of us be kind to each other. Okay? Thank you.
I think, you know, everybody wants to be heard. You know, when the community speaks, when citizens speak, you know, our elders speak, our youth. You know, when you feel acknowledged, you know, it's something else when you feel like you're being heard. And I feel that's one of my strengths. You know, given that where our history is an oral history, you know, it's been passed down from generation to generation. And I feel strongly in my buppies, and I love to listen to everybody. You know, and that's how we're going to learn, that's how we're going to grow, and that's how we're going to go forward. Kliko chu.
Thanks, Rick. I can say too, yeah, what I wrote on my brochure, it's not fancy, it's black and white and straightforward, and I stand behind that. So I hope you all read it. I can't make you trust me, but I can do, that's how I live my life, with integrity. I said it in my opening comments. I do the best that I can for all of the nation, and I don't always make the best decision for one person. And, you know, I can't help that. It's with 800 plus citizens, and growth is really slow. It takes a long time for things to happen, and the best way to speed things up is to amend our laws. We put those laws there, we made it hard for ourselves. We need to amend them so they reflect Huu-Ay-Aht, and that they are more what the people say and not.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm really grateful that you had a chance to speak, Rick, because I think what you say speaks volumes to a lot of people, that they want to also feel heard. There's a lot of things that you listed off there, so that's a lot of opportunities that we've missed from hearing from you on those pieces. I think consistency is very important, and I see two opportunities on how we can improve working with our communities, right? Anacla being one of them. Every year, Huu-Ay-Aht puts out a calendar, right? A Huu-Ay-Aht calendar, we get it mailed out. It would be wonderful to see community engagements lined up on that calendar ahead of time so everyone can make time to come to those things. As well as a second opportunity is that when we come to those community engagement meetings, that it's not a presentation for 3 hours. Because those are the times where you can come and talk to us. So that would be a great time to have more of an open floor for citizens to come and talk about their concerns, as well as get information on what's going on. Chew.
How am I listening to the people? When I started this, I read the platforms from 4 years ago. Those are available online. I looked at what are people voting for, what did people believe they were voting for. I also looked at the motions from the People's Assembly the last 4 years, and what stood out to me was the 2016 motion about legal fees, transparency. So 3 years later, we still don't know what our legal fees are. We don't know how much we're paying lawyers. I think of the 28 motion about remuneration, so salaries and expenses of executive council, and the council voted to include that in next year's audit, but not this year. I think what people want is transparency, and I think we have to put it in our laws that our council doesn't get to decide whether or not our salaries are audited, that it's done automatically. So I think we have to be more accountable, and we have to be more transparent about those type of things, because I think it's irresponsible not to be. As a self-governing nation, we have to be financially responsible.
Thanks, Rick. To number one point, and I really believe you're making questions about this, and I want to use an example, Rick. The last election, we were asked if you would be willing to move home, and I made a commitment in my platform to move home. So 3 months after I was elected, I moved back home. So that to me is an example of living up to commitments you make in your campaign. On the second issue of posting the salaries, I have no issue with that whatsoever. And what I'll do as the chief councillor, if re-elected, is to make a policy that be done immediately. On the issue that you raised in regard to watershed restoration, that is number 10 on my campaign. Number 10 is that I want to continue to work with government sources and industry to find money so we can renew our 35 salmon streams. And when we renew our 35 salmon streams, Rick, we get our fishermen back fishing again. I want to pursue the opportunity to get our fishermen to have the right to sell fish by using the enhancement work that we do. True.
So thank you for your question. There's quite a few things that you asked in that time, so I think what I'll do is I'll say that in running for office, it's very difficult to make promises other than putting forward ideas, because you don't know who your team is going to be and whether or not they really want to do the same things that you want to do. But what you can promise to do is advocate on behalf of your people as you see what the values are. I think the greatest opportunity that we have as citizens and as a government to come together is the People's Assembly. And I think we should have more than one People's Assembly, and the one that we do hold should be during good weather and over a longer space of time, so everyone has a chance to have their say. And then we can build the strategic plan, what we do and what we actually spend money on. That's what matters. It doesn't matter what we say, it's where we spend our money. And that's going to be the proof in the pudding. Thanks.
Hey, thanks, Rick. Some good points you made there. Well, if you read my thing, I never made any promises. Those are things if I was elected leader that I would do. You know, and many of the motions you're talking about were put in for many years, and unfortunately, then we're still talking about them 4 years later. So I would bring all those motions that we need change to make sure that individuals can take advantage of opportunities in our territory, that our youth are taken care of and encouraged to go to school. These are stuff that I truly believe in, and I think we've been neglecting them since treaty was signed. And a lot of these laws that we've been trying to change, we put motions in I don't know how many times, and we've never changed any of them. You know, transparent government, an honest government, an open government that answers to the people. You know, that's what we've been asking for forever, and that's something that I would bring. Thanks, Rick.
Well, first, we need to ensure there's something left for future generations. We're not operating sustainable right now. In about 10 months, we're going to have major cuts. This next group of leaders are going to be hated. That's how I feel. There's nothing that we can do about it. There's cuts coming. I don't believe our leaders should be on a pedestal. If I'm elected your leaders will be immersed in the community. We will be here and around, not just in meetings, we will be here. You will see us. That is important to me. Yeah, basically, to me, it's number one priority for our leaders is to be here around understanding. I've been here for 10 years, rubbing shoulders with everyone. It's important to listen and communicate, but we definitely cannot say yes to everything. We need to think about the future.
Ben?
Thank you for the question, Rick. There's a lot there, but yeah, I believe, like what Robert said, I believe in transparency and what you're asking about, having salaries in place and out there for people's assembly and such. I believe in fairness all around with all of our people. I'd advocate for anybody, as you know. I've helped around here with some of our people in getting help where they figured that they're blackballed. I've walked the streets of East Hastings looking for our people that are homeless. I've walked the streets in Victoria looking for our homeless and seeing what we could do for them. And you mentioned watershed. We've been working with the watershed, and it might be slowed down right now, and LGL might be slowed down, but like they opened up more area for our fish to spawn, and last year, there was 500,000 Chinook that was put in our rivers. So hopefully we can carry on with that, and also, keeping an eye on our water.
Thank you. Sorry about that. What we'll do is have the next question. Thank you. And please choose who you'd like to start answering the question, and then we'll go either to the left or to the right, which is your preference.
Are we on? Can you hear me? Like I really need a mic, eh? So I'm Wishki, and as I said in my opening remarks, that we are Huu-Ay-Aht. We're very proud, we're resilient, and we've showed resilience over the centuries in times of famine, in times of natural disaster, in times of warfare and everything. And one of the things that I get to say starting tomorrow, every day I go out and I bring visitors to our ancient village, and I tell them that our next greatest success story is going to be on showing resilience in the face of colonization. And when I see and I look at all of these candidates, and you all have so many different things to bring to the table and to offer our community, I want to know is how are you going to best represent our motto? Because we can't just focus on the laws and the treaty and the business side of it. We also have to focus on our language and our culture and our history and bringing that back to life, because that is going to be one of our greatest success stories. So what are you going to do to help promote our ancient spirit and our modern mind? That is my question. And I'll start with Ben.
I'd like to see all our culture come back, our language, like Brittany says, and hopefully having our elders, help us out also in that area. Like I'd love to learn our language. I've taken five terms of language at North Island College, and it was one of the best times I had in learning our language. I do have an idea of how to. I can read phonics. Is one thing I can do, and just sort of getting into the singing and the cultural part of it. I start learning probably when I got on council in '96 is probably when I got into singing and drumming. Well, maybe not drumming, but yeah, that's definitely language. Chew.
For me, I think it's important to have a walking bridge from Lower Anacla to Upper Anacla. We need to utilize this building more. We need to be able to get out and to be together. And right now, that's a hurdle. I believe in holding our People's Assembly here. We can actually do it now. There's nothing holding us back. Bring our people home. It needs to be organic. That's how I feel. When things are organic, it's more meaningful. We need to get out in the canoe. We need to just come together. As for youth, I truly believe if we bring the Warriors program here, it'll be amazing. Like if you don't know what it is, please look it up. Other nations are doing it. It's basically building leadership skills in our youth, and really that's where we need to focus. Thanks.
That's a real good question, Rob. And the ancient spirit, modern mind, to me is encouraging our youth to stay in school, rewarding them, to go farther, get a secondary education, a trade, a profession, training our youth and our people to take jobs. But we also need to think of our community as everybody, as Huu-Ay-Ahts who live in all communities, and we need to create gatherings here for our youth so they can come here and experience the stuff that we all take for granted. Living here is gathering seafood, sitting on the beach, going fishing. Probably 90–80% of our youth that live in cities have never experienced any of that stuff. We have so much beautiful land here. We could set up camps for them to come. We can have gatherings for all Huu-Ay-Ahts rather than just people's assemblies where we're discussing business. We could just get together as a community and get to know each other a little bit better, and then we can start taking care of each other once we're getting bonded. Thanks.
So I think our motto, Ancient Spirit, Modern Mind, is very representative of what it is we try to do in our lives, together and as individuals. And as a leader and a member of the leadership team, the way that I would try to represent Ancient Spirit, Modern Mind is to ensure that we fuse the lessons of the past with the promise of the future. That to understand our values of Hishuk, Masawak, and Izak, and Huu-Ay-Aht as something that is to be lived and not just talked about. That it's not just a concept, but rather a way of living that we need to do more and more to understand. And we can do that as time goes by and take in the things that work for our community that have been created in other places and become who we're going to be into the future, both Huu-Ay-Aht from the past and Huu-Ay-Aht into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Wishki. To me, applying the ancient spirit means that you're going to respect your Huu-Ay and who they are and what they stand for. I see that is fading really quickly in our community. People are not respecting our Huu-Ay and what they stand for and who they are. So I'm going to continue to push for that. Secondly, when you say ancient spirit, we should know our language, we should know our culture. And we as the government should be able to do whatever we can to make those language and cultural programs available to our people. And most importantly, that when we look at the modern mind, we fully adapt that there is a system out there that can be used for our benefit. So that's what I would say, that we get our people educated so that they can work in our community to make our community better. And that's what we strive for. We got to constantly strive to be better, to be more educated, but use it for the benefit of Huu-Ay-Aht people. Too many of our people take advantage of our educational programs and they go somewhere else and they're gone. And that's okay, but it's more better that if that skill can be used at home. True.
Becky?
I think a focus should be creating some type of app. I think not everybody can go to culture nights, not everybody can come home all the time, but if we create this app where we can share language, where we can share stories, where we can share our history, that you can spend half an hour with your child or your grandchild before bedtime, whereas you may not be able to do that for 3 hours on a Wednesday night. I think if our goal is to have almost 700 people living here by 2033, that we need to start this transition period now, where we need to start bringing people home for gatherings, to get together for celebrations. I think that I look at what other nations are doing, and Souk just had this traditional seafood gathering, so they had their members gather at the beach, and they went out and they harvested tutsup, and they harvested haishup, and they got clams, and I'm like, wouldn't that be amazing? And to be honest, I really want to know how feasible a community smokehouse would be, because wouldn't it be amazing if people from the city could come home and smoke their own upsquee? I think that's what people want, is that we have to find a way to transition people into our community. We have to find ways for them to come here and to feel invited and feel that connection again.
I really love our tagline. It is, I think, really beautiful and poetic, and it has a certain view that not many people get to see. It has a different worldview, and when you take a look at our language also has a very unique worldview. We don't say that it's gray outside. We say it is the color of clouds. It's a very, very different way of looking at the world, and I think that it would bring a lot of peace for people to start learning their language. Now, I would like to invite anyone and everyone to join this cause, because there aren't a lot of teachers. There aren't a lot of people who want to be teachers, but there is a real need and a hunger in our citizens, not just in Huu-Ay-Aht, but in all of New Toronto, that want to come home and learn their languages. So if there is a time in your life where you're thinking that you want to do this, be part of it. Be part of the change that you want to see. Learn the language. Reach out to an elder. Chew.
Thank you. So ancient spirit, I believe, is remembering how we were taught. I was taught by my elders. I still listen to my elders. They weren't my elders back then, but they are now, the new ones. We get ourselves into some difficult situations, and we talk about all the things that we want to do, but we don't turn to the elders like we used to, who helped us through those difficult times. And the rest came naturally. Our culture came naturally in all aspects, in doing fish, in language, in dancing, in how you behaved. Modern mind, I believe, moving forward, learning how to adapt to a world that we live in now, that's not under the INAC system, that makes us stronger, that we're able to be stronger.
Thanks for the question. I think that's, keeping our ancient spirit alive, and I think taking advantage of our digital world, I think would go a long ways. I was at a culture night last night in Victoria, and there was a 6-year-old, and he comes out to the engagement sessions, and he's always really happy to drum, and I think that getting our stories, our culture, being able to send to our citizens so that they could hear the songs that have been sung for years and years. And there's a lot of our citizens that live away from home. I think that they would strongly benefit from our culture, and being able to bring them home. I think that reviving our wolves, bringing it back, where we could use them every day. When we could initiate our citizens and give them names, and carry out, every day. Thanks.
Yeah, it's a very difficult question for me, because obviously I've been in a residential school for 9 years, and then moving to Vancouver, and I'm craving for the culture part of it. I would love to learn the language. I know it was so difficult when I was growing up as a kid. I'd always have to have, when some of the elders would talk to me, I'd always have to have Mary Moses or Herbert Cook translate for me. So I really miss that, and I would love to learn the language, especially from people like Clifford, or and especially the dance. And I just love watching the people dance, the music, and I crave for that. And I hope someday I will get that opportunity to learn it from you guys that are so well talented and can do it so well. Thanks very much.
How am I going to best represent our model? I don't think it's ever left me. I think it's ingrained and instilled in me. I believe that I listen to the voices of not only what our ancestors have laid before us, the foundation, but also our Ha'with, our Nananixu, all of our families and our youth. I have a good understanding of where we've come from, where we are, and where we're going. I'm continually learning and educating and teaching. I might be a little bit away from home, but it's in me. It breathes and lives and breathes within me. For example, my daughter had a 5th grade book report, and she chose 21 things that you should know about the Indian Act. These are things that I encourage her to do in school in a modern mind context, is to represent Huu-Ay-Aht, be strong, be proud, and teach people in a healthy way to be proud of who we are and be Huu-Ay-Aht. Chew. Oh, giving you a whole bunch.
Bring on the mics. For myself, my teachings came from Alec, Fanny, Mary Moses, John Moses, Herbert Cook. That's my teachings on our culture. I tried to share some of it, but what happens is that the younger ones say they want to learn, but they tend to say they want to learn, but then next thing you see them doing something completely different from what you shared with them on our culture and our history. So it makes it challenging to try continue that, but I will continue trying that. This thing here will be ancient also pretty soon. Modern-wise, I encourage education, training, and for me, and this is for me, I will continue to promote that to make it easier and better for our Huu-Ay-Aht citizens to have a better life, irregardless of whether they work and live at home or not. It's for their lives. Chew.
Thanks, Wishki. I got the pleasure of being an assistant guide on the Kian tours, and although it's not a huge, I feel it's not a huge revenue source, I think it could be utilized more with our youth. There are modern minds, but to get the Asian spirit, have them tour that more often. I also think we could use like our stop signs, our billboard signs, to have our language on there along with the phonetics so people can speak it, can see how it's pronounced. And I think our elders and our Ha'wi are underutilized. They have so much knowledge that can be shared with all of us, and they should be involved in everything what that council and government does. And I also feel that we should use the House of Huu-Ay-Aht for everything, meetings. It's a large place to have gatherings, like so everybody can be involved with everything. Sorry, seeing again. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Wishki. I wanted so badly for a place to turn when I wasn't living near a community or had a knowledgeable elder to turn to. I'm going to put this into 3 parts. First, I want to see our art, our culture, our language, our practices, and our history published online for easy accessibility for those here and far and those just interested in Huu-Ay-Aht. Maybe dial in elder for those who aren't so internet savvy and still need to ask questions. But personally, I'm going to support mothers and new babies and learn the cultural birthing practices of Nuu-chah-nulth people and how to support women who have culture with dignity as their advocate in a safe, knowledgeable environment. I'm going to help heal the colonizational wrongdoings by staying with our women when in a vulnerable place. And the third part is I'm going to work into our practices the mindfulness of our environment, and how can we protect for the next 7 generations? Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Wishki. First of all, when you asked the question, I thought, oh, that's a huge responsibility to put on one council. And so I do truly believe that it's not going to just be council that's going to be able to do that. We're going to have to do it all together as one united nation. We have the privilege of growing up here in Anacla, in Banfield community, and so we're a part of those old traditions. One idea I had, I have fond memories of cleaning my nanny Mabel's house, and I wanted to start the Nanny and Grandpa program for the youth in Anacla and everywhere to start going to do small deeds for our elders for incentives to go on the ski trips as one thing, because that's what we grew up doing, and that's what I've seen that's lost. And it's not lost because we're a bad Huu-Ay-Aht, it's from residential school. It was taken away from us. So I think of everything that was taken away from us, starting from the language to be put back. I'd like to see a Huu-Ay-Aht school that is only Huu-Ay-Aht allowed to be spoken.
Thank you for the wonderful question. First off, I want to say I don't believe ancient spirit, modern mind is a motto. It's a lifestyle. It's how you live. I was blessed to have my son when I was really young, and Nanny Fanny said, if he was raised properly. And I live my life to that extreme, that I always have a future Huu-Ay relying on me to teach him the right way, the right things, and how to behave in a good way. And I think it starts at home. It starts with all of us. It starts with having that ancient spirit, but embracing the modern mind as well. And some of the things that I thought while I was sitting here was a traditional teachings camp with the kids, teaching them how to cut fish properly, teaching them how to skin a deer. A lot of things we've lost. A revitalization workshop, having the elders and the youth together at a workshop to teach and learn. We have so many young Huu-Ay right now, and a lot of them are missing their teachings. My son is away at work. Bucko, little Andrew, Mahegan is to embrace and teach our Huu-Ay as well.
It's a great question, Wishki. I think for Modern Mind, we have our treaty there as a tool to help us meet our goals, and we need to fully utilize that treaty to help us meet our strategic goals. The ancient spirit side, I think, is really important, because I think one of the things over the last 8 years that we haven't paid enough attention to is the ancient spirit side. I think when we signed treaty, there was a natural reflex to, we have to implement this treaty, so we have to focus on that. We got to focus on our governance. But one of the main reasons why we got into treaty is to be Huu-Ay-Aht. And I think that's a crucial piece right now, is when I look at yourself and Andy here and Robert down the table there, I think we're at a critical time there. I want to make sure that our kids are able to have the same things that we seen when we were young. And we need to fully resource our Hutwith, our Neneneksu. Our elders need to play a part in what we're doing, and they're not resourced enough. They're not fitting into what we're trying to do as a community and as Huu-Ay-Aht. And so I think our Neneneksu is going to be the answer to that. Choo.
This is a little bit tough one for me, which is me working and not being here too much, but it starts for me learning from everybody here. I see a lot of people that know their culture, and I watch the singing and the dancing, and me not being raised and brought up here. I'm still learning, and what I will learn from everybody is what I would reflect on the future generation. And as for Modern Mind, I think as a group and as great leadership, we are moving forward in the right direction into our modern time. Keeping the traditions is a little bit different for me. I haven't really learned. So, like I said, a little bit difficult for me, but I will learn. I want to learn, but I still have to learn from everybody here. Klako.
Thank you. What's the wishes of the group? Does anybody want to take a 10-minute break, or should we press on? Press on? Take a break? What would you like to do? All right. Next question. Next question. Please direct your question to whoever you wish. Okay, we're pressing on. He's saying, good evening, everyone.
Good evening,
Hello,
everyone.
hello.
Hi, Andrew Clappus. This question will be for the incumbents. There's no really method of reviewing or public questioning on the past 4 years. So it's a question just for the incumbents, no disrespect to the candidates. So the question would be, in the last 4 years, not about what you've done, it's more of what you could see done different or what stuff on the back burner that could have been done. So it's more of shoulda, woulda, coulda, or efficiencies, anything that could maybe help the next people elected in, just to give them ideas, or for yourself if you get in, but yeah, more of what you could have done different, or efficiencies, or anything like that.
Who would like to start? And then we'll go right to left. Who's an incumbent? Let's start there, and we'll work our way that way. Is that good? All right, Trevor, go ahead.
It's a great question, Andy, and actually over the last month and a half, it's something that I've been thinking about in regards to thinking about the last 4 years, and I just touched on one. I think we focused a lot on our treaty over the last 4 to 8 years, but one of the things that we haven't focused on is being Huu-Ay-Aht, that ancient spirit side, and I think that needs more attention. And I don't think it actually comes from leadership, but just that we support it and we make sure the resources are there for our Hutwith and our Nenanixu to be able to do the things that they want to do within their roles. Another one I think is communication. I think even for the next 4 years, that will always be something that can always be improved on is communication. When you look at how fast we're growing and the needs of implementing a treaty, it takes quite a bit of work to be done by the government and by the businesses and by the community. And communication is a really key thing to that, both internally and externally. Making sure that communication goes out to citizens, making sure that there's more efforts put into regards to what we're doing and how we communicate that out and how we receive that from our citizens. The other one I think would be is, well, I'll have to tell them later. Sorry.
Thanks for the question, Andy. The first thing that comes to mind is what I learned from the first term that I was on when the dreaded big vote came out. And so what I learned from that is that, one, to pick and choose your fights, and two, it's not just one council's responsibility to save the entire nation, and because that did more damage to me trying to fight it all on my own than working while I wasn't. Anyways, that would be my huge thing, is that to focus on your portfolio, and yes, pay attention to what everybody else is doing, but pick and choose your fights and just focus on your stuff, because as soon as you start fixing the whole world, then you're not doing anybody else a favor by stressing yourself out about something that's possibly out of your control. So that's, and then yeah, definitely communication can always hugely be improved. Chew.
Thanks, Andy. This question did come up in Nanaimo, and I'll keep my answer the same. The hiring of the executive director, we never got that right over the 4 years, and in doing so, it never brought a streamlined tight ship administration, which is where the citizens go for services. Not saying you didn't get them, but with the changes that happened every year, it wasn't consistent. And that is something that I reflect on, back on, that I wish we had done better at.
Okay. Number 2? Okay. Thank you, Chief Justice Tooth. If I had an opportunity to do things differently, I certainly would look at looking at the areas where we were weak. And I think a lot of times we focus on our strengths, but we need to focus on our weaknesses. And some of our weaknesses, in my view, is that I would like the Huu-Ay Council to play a more active and participatory role in our government. Because our Constitution says our government consists of Huu-Ay Council, Executive Council, Legislature, and the People's Assembly. And again, too, in regard to People's Assembly, I would like it to be us to revisit our law, because I think the People's Assembly decisions should have more meaning than just recommendations. That's my view. And then more importantly, too, is that have a way of assessing when the government makes a plan, are we meeting the criteria of that plan? Are we carrying out the issues of those plans? So those would be the things that I would focus on moving forward, so that we could provide better service to our people, and our people have the right to demand that service. Chu.
Thank you for your question. I think in the things that we could have done better as a government, I'm going to keep it fairly high level at this point, because I think Connie covered off the executive director fairly well, although I think what we could do is strategic planning better and budgeting better, and having open discussions where we're free to disagree more openly. That's something that is a bit difficult when everyone's trying to work under this consensus-based decision-making. What it really does is stops one person who disagrees from even speaking out. So as a group, what we should have been doing is looking for the people who disagree with what it is we're doing, and then letting them say what's going on to make a stronger decision as time goes by. And if we did that more as a council, we would have gotten more done better. And if we did it a little better as a community, it'd be even more so. So thanks for your question.
Yeah, I think one of the things I heard earlier in our term was our team back then was top heavy, and it seemed to keep on growing. I think we could have worked at that a lot better, and I think in the future that it's something that we need to look at with the budget that we got right now. So. That's all I can think of right now. Just gone blank. Chew.
All right, then we're up for the next question.
So with our ancient spirit, the house we recently all been placed in as citizens, I come from Tlama House in Apuanasat, and my family from the Johnson side, not just Johnsons, but also other citizens, have been placed into the wrong house. And I've been placed into Chastius. I want to know if you guys will do anything to try and fix that, because I feel like that's stripping me from my ancient spirit.
So what specifically is the question? Because I missed that.
The question is, I want to know if you guys will do anything to fix the houses that we've been placed in, because it feels like I'm being stripped of my ancient spirit by being placed into a house that I do not belong in.
All right, how do we start here? Shall we start in the middle?
Start from Valerie.
All right, then we will start from Valerie, and then we will go to Ben, and work our way back to Trevor. No, you want to go that way? All right, we are corrected. We will start with Valerie and work our way to the east.
I'm not familiar with how the houses work. I know the house that I'm in I am not 100% sure if there's a way that you can submit to have it changed. That's something we could look into going forward, but it's not my expertise at the moment, but I would investigate that. Thank you. You can answer that.
Oh, sure. Thanks for the question. When you look at our government structure, we have our legislature, executive council, Huu-Ay-Aht Council, and People's Assembly. I think that answer lies in with Huu-Ay-Aht Council and our Nananiksu being engaged with the executive council on finding that answer.
I'm sorry, first off, that you're going through what you're going through and you feel like you've been displaced and forced into a situation that you aren't happy with. I think we need to look at some records, some long-term records. I know in the village that I live in, Indian Affairs actually has records of who lived in what house through census information. So maybe that might give you a better tracking, something for our actual administrative side to help you with. Also, I agree with whatever the others have said about involving Huu-Ay-Aht Council and different levels of our own government to support you.
Thanks for the question, Heather. Since I've been on council and with how the laws are drawn up, that I've always been under the understanding is that elected chief and council doesn't tell the Hut-with what to do. If I was in your situation, though, I would talk to my mom and family, and if they know, and then I would try ask Hut-with to go to one of their meetings to talk about it with them. But good question. I'm curious, and I would like for everyone to feel good in their house that they're in. Yeah, that's the best I can.
Me? Yeah. Okay, so I share the same issue with you. We're supposed to be in that house together. Meanwhile, we're split in two. One is under Norman Dennis, and then the other part of us is in Tom Happy Nook's house, and he is holding the seat until we can appoint a Johnson, I believe, to a seat. And I don't know how that works. I don't know where we're supposed to go with that, but we need to look into it and see who needs to hold that seat, because I don't know. And I don't fully understand which house we do come from, or where the split was made, or how to amend it. But even if I don't get elected, I want to see where this ends up, because I want to have a rightful house too. Thank you.
Oops, sorry. I think this is where we need to incorporate our elders, our Nananiksu, our elders, Nananiksu, our Huu-Ay-Aht, and the Citizenship Committee, and go over the structure of that again. I think maybe the citizenship could be made larger and have a few of our elders sit on seat that they are knowledge holders. Maybe they could be there and help place citizens in the right home. Sorry. I know we have a citizen in our government office who's been working on extensive, what do you call those, family trees, sorry. He's been working on that and speaking to a lot of people, so hopefully that'll be available to us in the near future to sort this out. Thank you.
The suggestion I would have is to talk with your family, which would include your grandparents and great-grandparents, to get your family tree, as it was described as, to see where your history is. And I'm aware there are citizens that have done that and have selected which direction which family they would like to go to. And I believe that's, as an adult, that's a choice you can make. So talk to your elders, grandparents on both sides, and take a lead from there. True.
That's a good question, and I can understand why that would make you feel displaced. I've heard that from a few different people that has happened. I think that if we've adopted this process as a government, so we do have a responsibility to address it. And I hear the concern, and if I'm voted, I definitely hear the concern, and it would be a priority for me, as knowing that I come from a cultural background, knowing that we would definitely ensure that we as a government would try to maybe start like a phase 2 of that work, to revisit it and include the right people, include Nananiksu and Huu-Ay-Aht together, and support it. If we need to support some funding towards doing that phase, it's important. And also to support those houses having small gatherings to make sure that the young people and the elders and the right people are in the room so that everybody can hear why and how they fall into that house. That would be my solution.
That's a good question, actually, and I really can't answer it for you, but I would do my best to find the answer, and because it's all important to all of us. Hey, thank you for asking.
Thanks for the question. I think that being placed in the proper house, and I think that looking at where your family comes from, your parents, grandparents, and going from there, and yes, connecting with our Nananiksu, and our historians, and even going far as back, checking our archives, because there are a lot of houses that aren't recognized today. And that I think you bring a very good point, and it's part of our identity, and it's a passion of mine of understanding who we are and where we come from. And, I think that we could all collaborate together with our elders and our Huu-Ay-Aht, and we come up with a solution. Choo.
We really like Mike 4. Which one? What are we doing? Thank you. Yeah, I agree. I agree with what everybody said, but also that the Huu-Ay-Aht, this is what I said in my ancient spirit, modern mind answer. So ancient spirit is our teachings, is our elders. Who do we turn to? Including our chiefs. They also turn to advisors, and their advisors are our elders. And I believe that the houses were put together really quickly, and that it is something that can go back to the table. The Huu-Ay-Aht meet, the Nananiksu meet, and I believe it's a meeting of the two to correct maybe what incorrectness there is on those lists, and to bring understanding, because I know it just was like all of a sudden you're in a house. Yeah, I hear you. Oh, so definitely it's a priority. It needs to happen, because you're probably not the only one. Okay, all right, thank you.
Being one of the last people to speak, I have to say I agree with a lot of what everyone else had to say. What I hear is that it's really unfortunate that a lot of things fell through the cracks when treaty was implemented. It's not just citizenship. There's a lot of things where there's gaps from when we implemented treaty. And what I don't like to see is that the citizens suffering while we figure out the best way to do something. What I would recommend you doing, and this is just me as a citizen, is I would ask to meet with the Huu-Ay-Aht Council and bring your question forward, because that would be what would my first step would be. Choo.
So from my understanding, so our Huu-Ay-Aht Council is an advisory body to our executive council, and our Tyee is that representative. So I think if I were elected, it would be irresponsible and crossing boundaries to address that issue, because I think that's a Huu-Ay Council issue, and I think there are very clear boundaries when you are in that elected position that you don't cross. And I know that's not the answer that you want to hear, but I think that you bring it to our representative, so our Tyee, and you ask him, and he can go to the Huu-Ay Council, or maybe you can meet with the Huu-Ay Council. But again, that if I were elected, I think it would be inappropriate for me to directly address that issue. Thanks.
Thank you. Very, very, very good question. And obviously very important to you. And obviously it's something that we should not ignore. Our law says that when a citizen raises an issue, we have a duty and responsibility to address that. And we have a duty and responsibility to report to that person how we're addressing that particular thing. So here's what I would do. If re-elected chief councillor, I would consider your question as being raised to government, and I would ask for a meeting with the Huu-Ay Council, and I would report that it has been raised and you would like to see this resolved. And I would suggest that they immediately hold an elders meeting to review this particular situation. And then one of the most important things, we have a very valuable resource person in here named Jane Peters. She knows a lot of that historical information regarding houses, regarding chiefs, regarding which house each family came from. The information is there. It's just that we haven't taken the time to gather it and utilize it properly. So that's how I would approach that particular situation. Ask for a meeting with the Huu-Ay Council, ask them to convene a meeting with the elders, and then use that particular information that we have, and then take corrective measures so that people can be put in their proper houses. True.
Thanks for your question. I think the answer here is fairly complicated insofar as the way that our laws are set up is that our elected government isn't really to tell the Huu-Ay what to do. But what we can do is ask questions and make sure that the questions are raised and that the questions are responded to. The real difficulty I have with our traditional culture is that it's primarily oral. And I don't have a problem with it like it's a bad thing, but it's a challenge. I think the challenge now and into the future is providing enough resources for our Huu-Ay to do the work to codify or write down or record every single tidbit of information that makes up who we are as a people so that it's accessible. And I think that's about the only way we're going to be able to address these types of concerns and considerations, by providing the Huu-Ay the resources necessary to do the work, and then ensure that that work gets done, whether that means finding more resources or finding more minds to help them along the way, so we can avoid those kind of things. Thanks.
Hey, Heather. That's a good question. I think it is a responsibility of Huu-Ay on, maybe we need to open up their meetings a little bit more, because you never really hear about it. Maybe they should have a question and answer period where we can go to them and ask them things with our elders and get advice. And, it's not just these things, it's like many things we could use our elders and our Tyee to answer for us. So I think, yeah, if we can get them more accessible, have them open meetings with them every once in a while where we can ask them questions to straighten out your situation and stuff like that, I think it would be great. Thanks.
So we definitely need to support the process. The important piece is conflict resolution. I feel as a community we need to solve this issue on a larger scale. We're such a small community that any little conflict has such a huge ripple effect in the community. There's so many stories of grudges and different things. We need to find a healthy, culturally appropriate way to come together and be with each other on small and large conflicts. So I think, personally, I think we need to put some work toward conflict resolution as a community and a people. Thank you.
I'm sure you got your answer. There's a lot of good answers there. who has the cultural knowledge, our elders and our Huu-Ay. You heard one of our elders say that. He's sitting 4 down from me. So, like I think there it is. True.
Thank you. What we'd like to do is take a little break. I appreciate it, and you'll be first up. In 10 minutes is good for everybody. I've been asked to take a break. All right, so see you in 10 minutes, and lady will be first.
I'd like to ask a question after Robert's wife there too.
Okay, get specific.
Yes,
no
it will.
politicking.
Yeah, straightforward.
My bell isn't working. All right, if we can reassemble, that'd be great. Somebody can make an announcement to the people outside. You ready with your question? I know. All right. All right, as we get ready for our next question, when everybody gets back, we'll start again. It's our intention to go at least until finishing up at 9 o'clock sharp, because some people have the road to tackle again. And so we're about halfway there. All right, before we get into the next question, there's a couple of things. First, I've been asked to remind people to get to the point on the questions and phrase it clearly to the candidates you wish.
Just because, you know,
I know, and this is, you know. And the second thing is I've been asked to make sure that I ring the bell sharply, like that, and I'm new to the bell. I'm used to boxing rings and stuff, but I'm going to treat this with more respect, and I'm going to ask that there is no 10-second warning. This is it, and I'm going to ask that the mic gets turned off when the bell happens. So most of you are keeping it under a minute, and that's awesome, but one or two are going a little longer, and my respect issue is I hate to cut anybody off. So yeah, I understand. So I'm going to like focus on this bell and hit it harder. So are we ready to start? Please ask your question and
go.
Show.
Okay, I have two questions and they are directed at certain people. So the first question I'm going to ask is for Val, Sherry, Nikki, Evans, Jack, Ed, Brittany, and John. Okay, so the first question is, us people here that live in the community and that work down here know how to change the employment to make it better. We know how we could get more people working down here. I'd like you guys to tell us how you think you can make it better to have more Huu-Ay-Aht citizens working for us. Okay, the second question is, well, how do you know you're on the second list? Okay, go for it. Okay, we're starting off over here.
Okay, the question is, how are you going to hire the local citizens first? Sorry.
Okay, so with this one, working with the group of businesses for 6.5 years has been a little bit difficult, and we have been working on that. We're trying to give everybody priority, and lately, I mean, I'm not really involved with that. How am I going to change the employment. It's been difficult for 6.5 years. Honestly, I can't answer that question. It's not so much hiring them, it's keeping people employed and encouraging them to work and keep them motivated working and being there and showing up on time and actually doing their job, but every position is different. So it's a combination of hiring and motivation and keeping them. I can't say too much more to that. Thanks.
I think a lot of communities struggle with this issue. The Tishrap market also struggles to retain employees, and their employees live right in their community as well. I think one of the things we could do is actually have a separate strategic plan for the employees of the group of businesses so they can collaborate on what they think will work for themselves. Like we can as a group say, as a group, this is what we want, but specifically the employees, what do they need, what do they want, what can we do? And also understanding that the barriers are quite big. Travel and accommodation are quite big to retain employees here. Can we have a bus? Can we rent out more rooms in the hotel? What are some troubleshooting ideas? And listening to the employees and some ideas that come from the community will be key.
Hello. Oh, there we go. So this is a tough one to speak to, but one way to bring employment into the community would be having the Huu-Ay-Aht group of businesses operate down here. I'm not sure if they would be open to that, but I mean, I feel like primarily we should have more of our work down here, or open up positions specifically for down here. I see lots of hiring happening for the Port Alberni office, and I understand some people are getting passed up down here for locals of Banfield opposed to our members. So I mean, maybe we need more training involved for our people directly related to working for our nation and encouraging people to open up their own small businesses, maybe giving them grants, giving them incentives, anything at all to keep money here or generate it. Or how many tourists do we have come through here? Why don't we bolster our tourism for our people? Why can't we do those jobs? Thank you, Sarah.
For me, this is has always been a challenge, the way I see it. Okay, and I'll let you know how I see it here. I see it as that we have to try to find out why the employees aren't staying with the employers, whether it's the employee's fault or the employer's fault. It could be a combination of both. That's something that needs to be resolved. And then we have to find other sources of business, et cetera, to try to get more jobs, and which could result in self-employment business opportunities too. But that's the biggest issue, is trying to find out why, to me, why employees leave their jobs, and try to find a way to resolve that. Some of them leave after one paycheck for personal reasons, and I won't get into that. True.
That's a really good question, actually. Coming from my background, owning a bunch of businesses, I think one of the biggest challenges, if you want to open any business down there, is obviously paving that road. I mean, making it easier for people to get down here, to live down here. I could mention hotels and grocery stores and gas stations, but unless you get that infrastructure in place, it's going to be difficult to attract new businesses. Certainly you can try do different things, like get a ferry service down here. I don't know what you could do, but certainly, and it's important to us to listen to you too, to give us ideas so we can implement them. And like I said, I probably got about 50 different ideas, but unless we can make it accessible or easier to get down there, we can we can be sitting here until the cows come home, until it's more accessible to get down here for tourists, everything. It's going to be very difficult. Okay?
I think that, you know, we have our natural resources. You know, we have our lands and our waters, and we have an off season. You know, there's a lot of things we could be doing in the off season where we could be training, you know, future interpreters that can work out on the West Coast Trail, that can work out on the Kian site, and we could, you know, I think. And then another thing is where, you know, if I go for a job interview, you know, I would greatly appreciate, you know, if I didn't get the job, you know, I'd want to find out, okay, why didn't I get the job? And you know, feedback from the employer. Be like, you know what, you were a really good candidate, but there's a few things that you know, we would like you to work on, you know, and then being able to provide some of these training in the off seasons, you know, whether it be cash register, interpreter, maybe it's working in forestry, maybe it's identifying CMTs, you know, and looking at the jobs that we have here in our Huu-Ay-Aht and going from there. Chu.
It's my understanding that as an executive council member that I wouldn't be as heavily involved in administration things. That's not how the position works. However, I would encourage things like what Eddie had actually just touched on, opportunities in the off-season for people to get training, such as mentorships. The ambassador program is wonderful, and I believe that we've had some great people go through that program, but it was always in the middle of a season. So having that happen in the off seasons in December, January, February, to create employment opportunities, capacity building for people who want to be in those jobs, so that when we are recruiting for the seasons, you have people who have taken some training and who are ready and able and excited to go to work then. Chu?
Thank you for your question. I think for the purposes of hiring, we need solutions that are based in policy, because as political leaders, we're not involved in hiring anyone except for the executive director. But we can ensure that the rules are set in place that are fair and equitable and acceptable to our people. And I think there are a lot of lessons that we can take from union practices and apply them to Huu-Ay-Aht citizens in a way that really does create an effective way for Huu-Ay-Aht citizens to have a fair and just approach to employment. What we also need to do is ensure that we adhere to employment standards and how we conduct our HR. And sometimes I think we need independent oversight over how that is conducted to create trust in our community. Oh, just me.
Thank you. So I have one more question, and it's for Val, Sherry, Jack, Becky, Dwayne, and Charlie. So I've kind of heard you guys say something about our budgets and how, you know, I guess maybe we're not as rich as we think we are or whatever. But if you guys were to get elected in, how would you guys be changing or cutting some of our programs that are already in? Like, would you be cutting childcare or elders or medical, or maybe your own personal wages, or, you know, downsizing staff, getting rid of staff? I'd like to hear what, you know, financially it means to you guys, because we're so overspending. Where would you make the cuts?
So first, it would be a team effort. It would take actually a long process to go through some actuals, but definitely would follow the route of this great leader. One of his first orders of business was giving himself a pay cut. I believe that would be a top priority. I don't know what the wages are, but I know they could be less. The main thing is efficiencies. Anything we're doing, we need to look at efficiencies. Where can we save money? I believe we're not efficient in a lot of things we do. There needs to be accountability on all levels, the spending habits and the planning. I know for sure it would be linked to being efficient between the offices. So some of our energies and hirings are in Port Alberni, and we spend a lot of money trying to get these staff out here. A lot of, yeah.
Yeah, I think pay cuts would be in order probably for council, which would not be a problem. And I think we also are very inefficient on how we run things. I think we're overstaffed. We seem to have a lot of upper management and not many people on the ground. So I think we need to reorganize so we're pointing in a direction that's putting our people first, you know, not relying on consultants, because we hire people to do jobs, but then we're always looking out for consultants or lawyers or all these other things that add up when we have very capable people working, Huu-Ay-Ahts, that can do the job. So I think if we look at our staff, I'm sure we could do things, be more efficient coming back and forth with the office. Travel expenses could be cut down. I mean, we have a ton of committees that recommend a lot of the same things. Maybe we can combine them, you know, and like concentrate on more of the important ones like our elders and our Huu-Ay-Aht councils and our lands. So yeah, there's a bunch of different ways we can cut back.
I will clarify my comment. I said that our budget isn't sustainable, and our budget, it's not. When Paul came around and gave his PowerPoint presentation at community engagement sessions, what we weren't made aware is that, was it 2 years ago, that there was $13 million that came from the forestry thing. So we won't have that $13 million in a few years, you know what I mean? So, and also when we rely on government funding, so federal and provincial funding, that's not reliable. A lot of that money that we got over the last 4 years or into the next year, I'm not exactly sure the numbers, is that if a new government comes into place, we might have to face reality. Would we be a priority under, say, an Andrew Scheer conservative government at the end of this year? Like, I just wanted us to be aware that we're being presented this image that everything's fine, everything's great, but we cannot keep going the same way that we are now if we don't find new ways to kind of address our budget issues, I guess. What I said was that it's not sustainable, and the reality is that it isn't. I'm not saying that we should that we should cut social services programs, because those will pay off in the long run.
Maybe they don't want us to answer any questions. They keep passing the mics that way. Okay. The first thing I would do, and if I'm correct, would be the first thing I would be doing is eliminating the amount for portfolios. That would be the first thing I would bring to the table at council. The reason I say that is the salary I'm getting is for doing the work here. And if it's a portfolio added to that, that's part of my job. That's how I would see it. That's how I did see it. So if I'm correct, there's a amount per portfolio. I would strongly move to have that taken away. That's the first step. Beyond that, I would be working with, you know, the departments in consultation with the citizens as to what programs we need to make adjustments to. And I'll call it adjustments. True.
This is a tough topic for everybody because cuts means cuts. I think there's some things, you know, I wasn't in Huu-Ay-Aht government before. I was with the school district, and it's vastly different than being inside the nation and understanding what happens. And I think there's a lot of inefficiency in terms of, and I'll be specific, travel planning. We have lots of staff members going to the same place, but they're all taking different trucks. Why so? We have staff members that are using all of their travel meals. They're allowed to spend $50 on dinner. How much money do you spend on dinner? 20 bucks, 22 bucks, right? That's not right. It needs to be reasonable. The other thing is coordinating meetings. This year alone, we had community engagements about one thing, and then 2 months later, we had community meetings about something else. Why weren't those meetings put together?
Well, I personally think that, yes, our budget is extremely high. I would love to see all the financials for the last 4 years. As for budget cuts, there was a lot of outrageous expenditures for traveling. As it's been said before, top-heavy government. I'd like to actually take a look through and investigate, do we really need all these people, what do you call them? Secretaries for whoever, right? There's a lot of people in our government, and do we really need them? I would look at that. I would look at the traveling expenses. And as Charlie said, there's going to be a big budget cut coming down. It would have to be looked at through the expenditures, because we are not going to be sustainable with a $29 million budget when we don't make that much annually. And we're going to have to carry this on for generation to generation. It's going to take a lot of time to look through it. But what would I cut? Probably a lot of the top-heavy, expenses. Oh, I wasn't done.
Order in the court.
All right. I remind you, please, to keep it to the point.
Shorthand questions here. You might be able to understand me. Government office, Anacla, empty. Port Alberni office, full. Elders, new place for them to live. Daycare, updating, upgrading. There you go. 3 questions.
All right. Who would like to answer that question? We'll keep it short and sweet. Does one of you want to answer that question? All right, Kim.
I feel that a lot of jobs could be done directly from Anacla office here, and regardless if people have to travel every day or not to communicate to their work. I do believe still we need a satellite office, because in reality, not everybody's going to want to move home. But the office should be reduced, and a majority of it should be down here. Also for daycare, we need to start encouraging people who love children to go get their education to become an ECE. And what was the third one? Oh, elders. Pardon? Home for elders. Yeah, a large facility. We would need to go to successful living establishments for elders and do extensive research on that and see what it costs to run one, and see how we can make that go into place, along with getting some cuts in other departments. Thanks.
If you want to comment on that, Nicole, go ahead. All right. Nobody has to use their total time of a minute.
Sounds good. Am I on? I'll try to keep it under a minute then. Okay, so, the empty and full offices here and there it divides us. It really does. It's too bad, because probably a lot of people don't want to move all the way down here, but I mean, maybe for future positions, we could open them up specifically for down here, but we need houses for them. We need places for people to live first. As far as elder care, I would love to see Huu-Ay-Aht own an old folks home, but I don't know if down here is the best choice. What happens if there's a fall or they get hurt or whatever else? Are we going to hire a doctor? I'm not sure. I think we should look into having a care facility for them, like maybe a wing, a part of, I don't know, Rainbow Gardens or a place like that, and or you know, buy beds or sponsor it in an already existing old folks home and put those beds in assisted living aside for our elders. just so they know that they have a place to live that's safe and has a good reputation and, you know, solid staff. For daycare down here, we need a daycare. Like, no, oh, come on, I'm just kidding.
Okay, so the empty office down here and the full office in Port Alberni is, I would love the answer. If anybody has the answer on how we can fix this problem, please. Because regardless of wherever our citizens live, you're still Huu-Ay-Aht. And so how do we unite us all regardless of where we choose to live? I was told that this office down here was full because I tried to get a Parks Canada office that they would be paying us to rent that space. So if it's not full, then I would look at opening it up to the community so that we can rent the space and be paying our mortgage that way. As far as the daycare, definitely I agree that the Powitz needs a major rehaul and redo and be functioning Monday to Friday, offering all kinds of language, teachings, everything. And the elder care, I would love to see an elder's home here where everybody can gather together.
We have company trucks already that people can pool and come back and forth from Port Alberni every day to go to work.
I agree with you. I was, a long time ago, we used to have our office down in the lower village, and we used to be in that tiny little brown building. Crystal was there, Irene was there, I can't remember, I think Jackie was answering the phone, and I commuted every day. I wanted work, I commuted every day. And then I asked for a house, there was no house available. So we have different layers that need to be resolved in order for everyone to be successful at this. I agree, though, that there's certain staff members that come down here. Coral's one, she comes down almost every Wednesday, weather permitting. And there's other staff members that can come down. Maybe it's in their contract that they spend 1 day a week down here at the very minimum, and more if travel is acceptable. An elder's home, it's a tough one. Because we need education for people to be properly educated to take care of those elders and make sure that they're safe. Hinatinius and I were talking about this earlier.
Good. Trevor? Thanks. That's a great question, Rick, and I think I have two parts to the answer. One is there was currently a housing task force assigned that went around and did engagements with citizens to talk about the very things you're talking about, because it's been mentioned here, we can fill our offices, but we'll also need homes for people to live in. I think that'll be a key piece to how we want to move that forward as a community, and that's part of the task force recommendations that are coming. And I think that's an important piece is we hear citizens' concerns and issues, and what needs to go forward is, in this coming term, is setting that plan forward and what it looks like short-term, mid-term, and long-term for us. So what does it look like in the next couple of years? One of the things we did last term is when we bought the sort at Sarita, there was buildings that were on there. We brought that to council so that we can acquire those, and we have a few of those now in the village. Those are short-term things, and we need to figure out what's our community going to look like in the future. And the other one is our policies need to reflect our values, so our elders and our youth.
Sorry, Valerie?
I just feel like I'm going to repeat everything everybody just said. Having the satellite office in Port Alberni would be a better way, just narrow it down, people coming back here. But it's the housing, yet again. And then dealing with the child care. I mean, we need somebody that is willing to get their education to come here and work the Powitz, because we do have it. Who? So it's getting that back up and running. I know Claire was doing it for a bit. So we did have child care. What else was it? Elder care. So here we go back again, is budget. We have to cut some budget. We need to cut something to move it forward into elder care and child care. It's a domino effect no matter how you see it. And for me, I was asked about moving down here before, and it's just housing. I am in Port Alberni now. I was in Whiskey Creek, and being in Port Alberni has just been a lot easier, especially having an ill child that has to be in the hospital all the time.
All right. Ben, we move down to you.
Yeah, I'd like to see this office more utilized. I think of Nishka, they've been in their treaty for 15 years or more now, and we've all been invited, or there's a plane full of us that went up there, and they showed us their government building. It was on their lands. They all lived at home, and this is the plan when we built this building, that in the transition we're going to be down here, but then it changed. I'd like to see it utilized. As for daycare, you know, it'd be nice if we could have the support, the manager support of running this place. We've had one worker in there, and we needed more workers, and weren't getting the help. Meanwhile, they got a Powitz uptown, and they got 4 workers in there all the time, possibly. Elders, I'd say it's doable. You know, we got the airport there, and the helicopter lands there. We got the Red Cross that's there. My mom lived here until she was 82. Auntie Fanny, she wanted to be here too.
I believe our success is linked directly to solving this. A quick estimate, we have about $2 million of just wages alone going into the Alberni Valley. We have a living wage policy that are to support our people that's going into the Alberni Valley. We need to invest in the daycare, we need to relocate it, we need to build it bigger. We need to provide the education to grade 12. We need people to have an option down here to stay till grade 12. It's a must. I believe we need to support our elders in their homes, find ways to either renovate their houses. We continually hear that they don't want to move away, so first plan should be looking at remodeling their houses. We need a housing strategy. In 2016, we bought over 60 acres in Bamfield. Old houses were included in this. We've done really nothing with this. We need to look at what we have and invest in what we have.
Well, for Powitz, I think we need to encourage some members to get educated to be able to do that job. That would go a long way to having it open at proper hours, 8 o'clock to 4:30 when people work and have time to get back after work. And elders, having an elders home down here, you're so far away from the hospital, and we have elders here. And I remember before we signed treaty, we used to have somebody that went around and looked after them and cleaned their house and cooked for them. You know, why can't we create a position like that for our elders that need somebody to come clean and cook, rather than them having them here with health problems and having to rush them to town? So I think it's something that we need to refocus our budget on. So I think that would be good. And I think taking care of our youth would be one of the things that we need to refocus on.
Answering 3 of those questions in 60 seconds is pretty near impossible, but what I'm going to say is we can choose to do anything with our budgets. Everything we choose to do is going to cost money, and everything we choose to do has to be well understood by everyone in the community. There are solutions to elders' homes or care aids in the home or a lot of things that we can do. What we need to do is understand the mixture that we need to do, and specifically, daycare is one of my #1 priorities, not only for Anacla, but for everyone in Huu-Ay-Aht, because 24/7, well, not 24/7, but like real full-time daycare would free up time for our citizens to have 2 incomes and get ahead in life rather than just tread water. And all of the things we want to do to take care of people is either going to cost money or going to cost the time of our citizens. And we have to have a deep and meaningful conversation, riven with disagreements, but we have to disagree well and move ahead as a people.
Thank you. Very good question. And I want to start it this way, Rick, that for years I watched our forestry department workers work. They would leave Port Alberni 7 a.m. They would return back to Port Alberni 6 p.m., 5 days a week. They'd done that because they wanted to work. That's the job they wanted to do. And it seems that if our workers had that same mentality, yes, I want to work for Huu-Ay-Aht, yes, I'm willing to travel to Pachina to go work in the office down there if I had transportation. That's one remedy, or that's one way you can look at it. So, you know, which office stays open and closed is a very good dialogue, very good serious discussion that we should have. And I believe once we get that road improved, I think more of our workers will want to work down here. In regard to the elders' home, you know, it's something we seriously have to look at. And in regard to daycare, that should just be an automatic that we should be able to do it somehow. And the way I look at it, Rick, is that
So the office situation, it comes up over and over and over again and for years. And I think the reality is that we don't have people owning that we have made the decision clearly to keep the office in Port Alberni. We keep deflecting, we ignoring, and what we're doing is creating an environment that is almost toxic. It's frustrating. People rant about the employees that live in Port Alberni. The people rant about that our office is empty, but nobody wants to own that we have essentially made the decision to keep 2 offices. I think that if you work for Huu-Ay-Aht, you know that there is a government office in Anacla. I drove every day for 3 hours because I chose to live in Nanaimo while working in Campbell River. If you choose to work for Huu-Ay-Aht First Nations, then you can make the hour-and-a-half commute to Anacla. I think that's the reality, is somebody has to own what decisions we're making because there's no accountability, and what we're doing is allowing an environment that is full of resentment and full of distrust against government because nobody's owning that decision. If the decision is to keep the office in Port Alberni, then that's what we have to say clearly moving forward.
Ooh. Are you ready?
Yep.
So if we're looking at the government offices, I think that there's a big perception difference there as well. So here in Anacla, we have a lot of field workers. And there's a lot of people who don't work in the office. That's not their job. And in Port Alberni, you have a lot of people who work at a desk. There's a big perception difference there. Now, that being said, I would love to see more of our community services programs having people who work at those programs here as well, so that it's not just Port Alberni people traveling down to support those programs here. Looking at daycare, I would love to see Huu-Ay-Aht let go of the daycare and let it run on its own as a business, that it shouldn't be something that's run by the government, that it's something that we should be funding, giving grants to, so that it can keep going. But it should have the freedom to hire people when they need to hire people, to grow when it needs to grow, and actually operate like a business. And then looking at elders' homes and elders' care. Oh, I'll get you. So close.
It's getting better.
At one time, the Port Alberni office and the Anacla government office, it was a non-issue. You commuted wherever you lived and you worked down here. And you drove your own vehicle. You didn't have a company vehicle. That grew, and it grew very large. So we hear from citizens that live away from home, they want office in Port Alberni. We hear from citizens down here, they want to see more people in the office. So we need to find the balance, and we need to make you citizens here happy. We need to make citizens away from Anacla happy. Elders, what is the short term? What is the long term? We can't build a community center overnight, but we can provide services. We can bring those services here. Daycare, same thing. If that is what the people want, then we have to make that happen.
Office in Anacla and the office in Port Alberni. I could definitely see more of a presence here in the office in Anacla, and I would love to brainstorm on that and make it happen. You know, I commute, and you know, it's what I do. You know, I love meeting with citizens, and I love connecting with citizens, and it's definitely worth the drive. And I think there's a few ideas with our elders. I would like to see an elders care facility. You know, not all in one building, but you know, I could see like a single level, like a rancher style sort of houses. I was up at Cots Common. If you've ever been up there, there's like a small little community of houses, and it all circles around a playground. And I could see easily accessible for our elders. And I just an idea. There's a few houses that our elders live in. I could see us. I don't know if we could purchase them somehow, you know, and then having that go towards their retirement. And I'll definitely talk to you later.
Yeah, so the two offices, until we get easier access to Anacla, we're going to have to keep both offices open, because we're going to have to expand our businesses and probably create more businesses in Port Alberni. So we're going to have a population of workers working there. And as for the elders, I think we used to have a fourplex, I believe 40, 50 years ago in Anacla. And maybe it's something we could start again and build another one, maybe with an extended care for it. And right now, for the very minimum, we should have, like I was talking to Bill Frank, and he needed access to go to Port Alberni, and there was just no way he could get up there. At least we can have some sort of transportation to transport these people that need access to doctors. And, you know, I was willing to bring them up myself, but I think it's really important to take care of our elders. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I think we're at a great time right now, because it's my understanding that we have an opportunity to hire a new executive director, and that is definitely what our government is responsible for. I think that we need to ensure that we have a high degree of management and business finance and also experience, and take that executive director and deliver the goals that we need from the government to this director. And if we need to make cuts, and that's the work that we need to do to actually find out how much things are costing us and where we can actually make those cuts, we need to do the hard work and make those cuts. And we could do a slow transition to starting off with 5 jobs that end up being put to this office, and start reducing those and getting people to come home. Second of all, I think that not only the executive director has to be a very strong director to also do the evaluation of, and strongly tell us what our needs are and how much we could be saving money.
Okay, I'll share with you my true feeling here on this. This discussion on office, Port Alberni and Anacla, is dividing us. That's my true feeling on that subject alone. So to resolve that, I think we have to find a compromise. That's all I can really suggest on that. But let's stop this division of this subject of office separating Huu-Ay-Ahts, please. As a Huu-Ay-Aht, it's disturbing. It's becoming them and us again. All of us here have family away from Huu-Ay-Aht. We got to think about them too. For elders, we got to look at services that we can help the elders. For the daycare, if we need more worker, we'll find one.
Thank you all. Yes?
I'd like to, I'm wondering if we could let everyone know that we're only going to be taking one, or do we have time for two, or is it just one left?
I think we have time for two more, but I would ask that they are not double-barreled or triple-barreled questions, like get it to one question and then...
I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew that there was only time for maybe one or two more questions so that they could decide who.
Absolutely. It might be time for more than two, so...
I cut ahead, I'm sorry.
All right. I asked that one question, specific.
I'll keep it to one question. I'll be very specific.
Thank you.
I'd like to raise a question because what we do have in our nation is our own land, our own treaty settlement land, which we have the complete rights and authority to govern and to decide what we want to do with it. And I have some of my friends and some of my colleagues that are questioning if there's a possibility that we could get you know, just to kind of diversify and to do different things, but to have like a place where, you know, we can 4x4 or where we can have, you know, just to have, you know, create different things so that people do want to come down here, that people that have the vehicle that can handle that road want to come down and spend some time in Anacla, Banfield. So that's my question, is if you think that's possible or feasible, because I think it is, because we do have say over all of our TSL, and that's one of the wishes of one of our citizens. So there you go. We want a 4x4 designated area or a pit or something like that so we can have some fun around here. Chew.
The question, I believe, is what is your opinion on having a recreational area, for instance, a 4x4 pit where people can do things with their vehicles? All right, let's start with Jack and go this way and work our way back to this. Okay, Jack, go ahead. You have...
Make it real quick. Yes, we'll be creative in finding room for activities on TSL, as long as it abides by our principles.
Okay, Irene.
I think I got the question. Yes, I believe that we definitely have the land base to do whatever we want, and we definitely need a recreational site or area. And you know, for example, I had brought up an idea 8 years ago about having Anacla days in Sarita. I mean, that was a suggestion to make an area where we actually, every year, we as a community built smokehouses. We built, you know, picnic tables every year. We, you know, and that might not be the place, but a recreational area where we can go and do fun things. And make it available for us to use so that we can gather together and learn together. And I chose Sarita because it could be Dodgers, you know, be able to fish and learn from the fishermen. And I mean, that's recreational to me. So the answer is yes, I think that it's important.
Evan. The question is about a recreational site, such as for four-wheel driving, that would bring people to the area. They could be other activities as well, but what would you do to bring people to this area to recreate? For instance, four-wheel drives.
Four-wheel driving, sports events. I mean, it's a great idea. I mean, obviously, we have to keep everybody busy, so it's the kids and the adults. It's difficult for me because you know, I don't know what everybody does down here for enjoyment. There's no movie theaters. There's no there's no swim pools, and there's a lot of things. It's all going to depend on 4 years from when we have a tax structure, and what we can afford, what our bottom line is. So this all has to be taken into consideration. But it's a great idea, I guess, for now. Thank you.
I think, just trying to wrap my brain around it. So I think, yeah, like a multi-purpose racetrack where, you know, you could race 4x4s. There'd be a track for it in the mud pit. I know they have mud racing in Port Alberni, and but there's a Thunder in the Valley. There's a possible track for that. You know, it would generate income. You know, it wouldn't be for very long. I think it would be maybe a week at the most. You know, if there was drag races along with 4x4 races, and you know, somewhere in our Huu-Ay-Aht somewhere, and you know, and testing it out just to see what it would bring in. I think it would bring in a lot. You know, it would extend our season. There's a few other recreational activities I'd like to see. I'd like to see some sort of a paddleboard race or a canoe race going from Sarita out to Chappas, you know, and then going back, you know, and just man-powered boats. You know, I think that would bring a lot to the community as well.
So a recreational area specific, I think I heard the question for 4x4ing, mud bogging, is that right, Corey? Yeah, we have a land use plan, and we can, if it's not a recreational area that's in there now, it can be amended to have a recreational use area for mud bogging. I think specifically a little bit away from the community so it's safe. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, getting your tires dirty.
I think that's a great idea. I think it's not just a great idea for people who live here, but it would be great for tourism as well. I think that they would draw a lot of people in to come and get their tires dirty. I'm not going to steal Kimmy's thunder because her son's got some great stuff she'll share with you, and I think that the organizations that she works with would be great as well. So yeah, I'm all for it, and I'm also really interested in any other kind of recreational activities the community would like to bring forward. I'm sure that there's a lot of youth back there who have some great ideas that we would love to hear. So look forward to hearing from you guys. Chew.
He said 4x4. And I know he's talking about trucks and cars, at least I think. But if we talk about like a multi-purpose trail that can be used for people who ride bicycles or people who like hikes, then I think that it is a really great idea, but I think we have to also be smart about it. I think this is kind of probably more an HGB issue, but that we have all of these great tourist attractions, we have all of these great things, and we have Keehan, and if we have a multi-purpose trail, that we market it appropriately, that we find ways to bring people to Banfield, come stay at our hotel and do this Keehan walk. I think if we market it appropriately, that we could make money off of it, but I think that has to be done in a way, we just have to do better at marketing, I think.
Good, thank you. I really appreciate this question because I was talking to Georgie one day, and I know he likes 4x4, and I said, hey Georgie, we should get together and you guys tell us where you would like a place where you could have a 4x4 area to do what you like to do. And I think if we can get away from the community, make sure that it's safe, as Connie has said, that's a very important point, you know, and having it away from the community. And I think if we do that, then you know, we'd see where the 4x4s wouldn't be down the village or down the beach. You know, they could go have their own area to do this. So that's what I think we need to do. Let's meet, let's find a solution, let's identify the area where we can make it happen. Chew.
I think these ideas all have very credible value to them, and I think we need to split whether or not they're recreational opportunities for our people or whether or not they're economic opportunities. And we can do both, and I think it starts with land use, and that's something that we haven't gone through very much of a process beyond just how we use the Anacla village land. We haven't gone through a comprehensive process of seeing how do we want to use the lands that make up our treaty lands, and how do we want to ensure that they are accessible for our people to use for various reasons, whether it be 4x4ing and or motocross or mountain biking or walking trails. These are all things that we can work together on, not just as one community or as a business. We can work with the regional district and a bunch of other government levels to get grants for that sort of thing as well. These are all things that can provide recreational opportunities for our people first, and then maybe economic opportunities as time goes by. We just need to sit down and do the land use, the actual government work of doing it, and providing opportunities for investment. Thanks.
I think a little 4x4 track or route would be great. We have an area right up here in 417 that has a bunch of overgrown roads that all circle around and all join up into a big circle already if you just did some work there. But also mountain bike trails, ATV trails, tours. I mean, tons of people into that kind of stuff. So if we could work on more trails, like doing it responsibly and properly, I think would be great for our area.
I agree. I also feel that we could be investing small amounts into other recreational activities like in our lakes, rivers, and beaches. We need signage. You hear often of these ideas of gating off areas and stopping access. We want people to enjoy our lands. We want people to be coming here and having a great time. But it has to be signage, clear expectations of our people and of other guests. I think we need to promote our current legislation. We have a lot of the tools already in our Land Act and other legislation in our Community Development Act. We have it there. People often ask where they can build a house. You could actually apply. There's processes in place where you can apply, but it's just in legal language. We need to find ways to communicate it so it's easy to understand.
I think it's a good idea. It sounds good to me. I think of, like you got Western Speedway, they got the racetrack there, and then also they bring in the monster trucks, and I think of, like economic development to bring in the people. That'd be awesome, but I think maybe one clause would be having you'd have to have an elders off-road group. So.
It's just potholes. This would be actually a really great idea. I sponsor the Port Alberni Drag Race Association and the Port Alberni Off-Road Group and everything like that. Having a 4x4 track and a motocross track and quad track and all that fun stuff would generate a lot of income. So business-wise, I think it's a great idea. You can have campsites, you can have food trucks, and people will come from all over BC if we can get it out there marketing-wise. For me, that would be a business opportunity because we have a lot of land that we can utilize and create such an awesome 4x4 track. It would be fun, it'd be great, but of course, moral standards, we'd have to do a good business plan. This would be something that wouldn't be having to do a budget balance. This would be seeing if we have the funds to create this to generate more income for the future. I think it'd be a great idea, personally. Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Whiskey. Yes, I think it would be a good idea. And it's actually great to hear something that citizens here in Anacla want to do, because I think that's the most important thing. One thing that you said that I want to key in is, you said we're under treaty and we have the ability to make the decisions and decide what we want to do with our land use plan. And I think that's a key part, is part of us building our community and part of our strategic plan of getting half our citizens home. A piece to that is, what does that community look like? So people are right, it's an economic opportunity, but really it's an opportunity to build a community that has activities that people will be drawn to. So 4x4ing, water-based activities, whatever it may be, getting people out on the land is probably the biggest thing there. So it'd be great to see a 4x4 track.
I'm going to give you the Sherry answer. Hell yeah, let's do it. I don't think anybody on the panel is going to say no, but I think we have to do our due diligence and make sure it's safe for everybody and make sure that it's also safe for the wildlife that surrounds the area in terms of noise, light, and making sure that, you know, we're not damaging our own territory and our own nature by providing a sporting activity. But there's also a saying, because you all know I play so much ball, if you build it, they will come. And there's other opportunities as well. I heard somebody say water slides. Val goes skydiving all the time. Zip lining, Huu-Ay-Aht, and some other nations have great ideas in terms of enjoying nature and what surrounds them. So there's lots of opportunity. And again, my answer is hell yeah.
Okay, I'm going to try not to repeat what everybody has said at this table already because there's been lots of good ideas and stressing definitely about the safety. I do know that regardless if we do this, people are, as I've been told, mud bogging for quite a while now, and I've heard that at the community consultative group, and there were elders that were concerned about the safety of our citizens doing that, and so I say, why not make it safe? And if they're going to do it, then let's try to make it as safe as possible for everybody who shook Masawak. I agree that there needs to be more activities here. I remember the long lineups to the swimming pool. I wanted to see the swimming pool, Trevor, be fixed so we could start utilizing it. And also I love the idea of zip lining. And I also remember the 3rd Avenue and the Mall Arcade in Port Alberni, which kept all of us out of trouble. And so definitely more recreational activities. I support fully.
Okay. I'll start by saying, like, let's do this. I feel like it's a great economic, I don't know, development, to call it. We could have motocross events, we could have 4x4ing events, similar to like Thunder in the Valley kind of stuff. We could charge memberships, we could sell yearly memberships, but also we need emergency response. So maybe that would force our hand to get policing in the area. Oh, did we switch? Sorry. And it would force our hand to get policing and emergency response in the area, maybe a gas station. What about a junkyard or a tow truck and fix-it shop? I mean, it just opens up so many opportunities if we start with one small idea, like opening up a motocross track or a 4x4 area. Why can't we have water slides, zip lines, you name it, sky's the limit. I could do fireworks too. No, I'm kidding, no to fireworks.
Golf course.
So many good ideas, and I'm happy to hear it. How exciting.
Hi, everyone. Yes, this is a very awesome opportunity. I've been involved with motocross. I have probably about 60 people I know that are in 4x4 races, and also 4x4s. We do a lot of that. I know a lot of facilitators that would be down for helping to create this opportunity down here. Motocross, dirt bikes, regatta, they're all self-sustaining businesses. It's all done by guest passes, yearly passes, day passes. How you have a ton of vendors come out, can target local businesses here, having, not catering, but somebody create a vendor down here, like hot dogs and burgers. And with a lot of the dirt bike racing, we have guidelines for oil spills and stuff like that. So everything is down to the detail when we race. And then, like people are saying, zip line and stuff. Even canoe races, and including our Nuu-Chah-Nulth Tribal, and have like yearly canoe races here in our bay or in one of our lakes that we don't drink from. And it also provides a lot of camping. A lot of people would travel for motocross regardless if it's...
That's another subject. I've been asked to move into closing statements where you have 1 minute each, and that'll allow everybody to be on the road or get home by 9 o'clock. So we're going to do this. Where would you like to start? Okay, how about if we start, yep. Everybody's going to get 1 minute. Yep. So Ben, would you like to start, or? Any other way? One closing remark to 1 minute. By height. We'll have you all stand up and we'll go by height. No. So starting at the tall end, please, Ben, start.
Okay.
You have 1 minute.
Okay, yeah. One of the things we've been involved in over the last couple of years, or something like that, that Sheila got going, and the thing that went very well is children in care and bringing our children home. I see it working well, and I hope we carry on, keep on doing this. As you know, like Claire and I, we took in a newborn baby, and we ended up getting 3 siblings afterwards. And other families are doing this for our Huu-Ay-Aht nation, and we're slowly getting our children back. And the talk of like our office in town, you know, like we don't, you know, like if we do, you know, at least downsize, have a micro office and have resource workers that can reach our people elsewhere. Chew?
Chew.
So what I want to focus on is for HFN to support education to grade 12. The system we have that we've been dealing with for the last 50 years is not working, and we need a bold government that'll move to find solutions immediately. This whole thing of when families move here, when they have an exit strategy, it's the worst thing we can do when we're trying to build our community, and again, we're relying on this, building our community. It needs to be well thought out, baby steps. I've been recently working up in Port Hardy for the Kwakiutl Band, and they have a beautiful $5 million elementary school, and very inspiring. And I went for a tour around the village, and they showed me their old school, and it's just a tiny little house with a little ramp on it. And it just shows me that it can be done. Commitment, and we can do it.
I'd like to thank you all for coming and for all the great questions, and all the candidates for answering honestly and not bullshitting for Rick. And I think if I was elected, you know, I'd be honored to be able to lead our nation in a direction I think that benefits all Huu-Ay-Ahts, no matter where we live. You know, where all Huu-Ay-Ahts are treated fairly, and where our youth are given every opportunity to succeed and encouraged to go on, where our people are encouraged to get training, where we have Huu-Ay-Ahts working for Huu-Ay-Ahts. You know, because I think it makes a big difference on how you go about your job when you're a Huu-Ay-Aht working for Huu-Ay-Ahts. So I think that's one of the main things that I think we need to focus on to make sure that we are truly a self-governing nation in the future, and having our youth come home to experience our culture and our land and make that connection no matter where they're from, so at least they know where their people live, their houses are. Thank you.
Okay, so I think what I'd like to say is I'd like to remain as a part of the Huu-Ay-Aht team. I want to ensure that we are successful in whatever it is we choose to do as a people and individually. And I think that's the focus that I would bring to the community in regards to what I'd like our government to focus on, is being able to spread opportunity around to our citizens, because we get very fixated on government solutions for challenges that can be partially or wholly addressed by empowering individuals to live the life that they want to live, by getting them that training, by giving them that opportunity, by finding those cultural transitions or transmissions of knowledge to give their life more connections and more meaning. And as Huu-Ay-Aht citizens, we can come together not only as a people always unified and agreeing with everyone, but ensuring that when we do differ in our opinions, we can do so respectfully and doing so effectively. Thank you.
I want to close with let people know that when you look at Huu-Ay-Aht's financial position, that our current financial position is 4.2 greater than Nuu-Chah-Nulth Tribal Council. Our financial position is now 2 times greater than when we took office in 2015. Moving forward, I want to make double our financial position in 4 years, and I believe we can do that by A, negotiating a new fiscal finance agreement with Canada, which we are currently almost nearly in the process of concluding. And when we succeed in that, we potentially can increase our funding by 4% or 4 times. So I'm going to be focusing on our financial position because I want to ensure that we are financially sustainable. And we have also approved already a 3-year financial plan, which means for 3 years we have the adequate funding to carry out the operations of government. True.
So what I believe good governance looks like is accountability. I think it should be made clear that members of the Executive Council are responsible to, and they have to, I'm sorry, I'm trying to think. Embarrassing. So that they are accountable, to Huu-Ay First Nations people first and foremost. That you have to be accountable for your actions, that you have to be accountable for your behavior. I believe in transparency, so I think that moving forward, again, audited remuneration, salary, and expenses from this point forward, and I also think we go back over the last 3 years. I think education has to be a priority. I don't think we've done well enough in that department. I think we need individualized education plans, like I said, that some people are going to need more support than others, and we have to find a way to support every citizen in their education goals. And I also think we need to find a way to bring people back to our land that don't live in the city. I think we have to create gatherings, or again, seafood gatherings or language apps.
So in closing, I would just like to say that I want to be part of our future. I want to be part of our governance team, and I want to inspire others to become leaders as well. Hachatak ni ushil hohtak. We all know something. Together we know lots. Wikin tuhuk, wikin kayachit, chamapian huetin. Let us not fear, let us not drift. Let us stand tall. We are Huu-Ay-Aht. We need to make our treaty work for us. And I hope that when you go to vote this Saturday, June 15th, Shakshit, please, let it be Hinatinius. Vote Brittany Johnson. Chew.
Okay, I respectfully ask you for the opportunity to represent you. I will be your voice at all tables, participating in those difficult decisions, some that require quick, timely action. I will always have your best interest guiding me to remain positive and solution-oriented to what is put before me, to ask you for your thoughts and what you see, to remember it is you, the citizens, that I work for, to know there is always room for improvement and other ways to continue moving forward. Huu-Ay-Aht is a strong, growing nation that I am proud to be a part of. My promise to you is to never forget to laugh. Our people's laughter is very infectious and it lifts me, no matter what at the end of the day.
Hello. My passion is wellness and, bringing healing to our people and understanding that it's not going to happen overnight. I know that us as Aboriginal people, we carry a lot of baggage, and it's difficult. We need to go forward, and heal together. And there's a lot of great ideas that I have. One is a healthcare facility, a place where our people, along with our neighbors, can go, you know, we have a strong future for our people. You know, I want to be a part of that. I want to be part of the change. I'd just like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Kliko, kliko, choo.
I'd like to thank all my fellow candidates running for council, chief council. You've all done an admirable job. Good luck to all of you. My intention at the start of this process was to increase the nation's portfolio of businesses, which I promise you I will still do. But after a short amount of time, has also led me to the elders and youth. I'd love to build a bridge and open communication between the two generations. Please keep the Huu-Ay-Aht people's best interests at heart should you be elected. Thank you.
In closing, I want to say kliko, kliko for coming out tonight. What an awesome turnout. And I've enjoyed being a part of this process with all of us that are sitting at the table, and it just shows our great strength as a nation, how many people you know, are involved in our nation and how many people want to be a part of our strong team. And I just ask for your support to give me the opportunity to sit on Executive Council. I believe I have a strong sense of leadership and inspiration and a background. No matter where I go, I will continue to work for Indigenous communities. But I want to work for Huu-Ay-Aht. I want to work for our people. That's where my heart is. And I'm ready to work and listen and do my best. That's what I will always promise, is I will do my best. And I just want to say, kliko, thank you. Choo.
Just make sure you got that box checked first.
It's on, it's on.
Okay. First of all, we as Huu-Ay-Aht citizens, and I'm being inclusive of all Huu-Ay-Aht citizens, have a challenging day on Saturday the 15th. We have to select a council to represent Huu-Ay-Aht. And this group here, we have to choose from. We, because I'm Huu-Ay-Aht. I'm one up here too. As to what I'm looking for is that I will work for Huu-Ay-Aht citizens, all Huu-Ay-Aht citizens. Programs, education, social services, we'll do the best we can to accommodate and have a compromise for all Huu-Ay-Aht citizens. As Rick mentioned earlier, we're not going to make everyone happy. That's just the truth of it all. We have to do the best we can, and that's what I'll be doing the best I can to try to accommodate as many as possible. True.
Thank you all for attending and watching us live. What is important to me is each and every one of you. I believe I can be your single voice, I believe every single voice matters, and all questions and concerns need to be addressed in a timely manner and not shoved aside. I want Huu-Ay-Aht to continue to move forward and to maintain a prosperous future. It needs to include every citizen's input. I want to see focus on incorporating our elders and Huu-Ay-Aht on a daily basis and include our youth so that they can grow to be our next future leaders. I believe I can be your voice for the past, present, and future. Thanks. Vote for Kim.
Thank you for everyone for coming out tonight. We really appreciate it. I mean, there's a lot of us up here to listen to, and just thank you. Again, my name is Nicole Malcolmson, and I'm here to be elected to Executive Council. I'm here to be your advocate, your person. I'm here to make realistic steps. I'm here for supporting the unique families of Huu-Ay-Aht. I'm here for encouraging connections within our communities, old, young, and everyone in between. I want to see daycare with early childhood education, a spot for students to attend up to grade 12 without having to uproot entire families and sending your teenagers away, or for young families not being held back by simply having a family. I want to see Huu-Ayahts buy homes off reserve or have homes built on reserve. I want people to feel at home here and just simply being a Huu-Ay-Aht person. I want to see our next generation grow up in a healthy environment and our elders have dignity in aging from a nation that cares. I want to see us be confident in our care plans. Thank you. Bye.
Kleko everyone for coming tonight. My name is Na'a'aks. It means woman who listens. My Uncle Ben gave that name to me. I will continue listening to everyone, not just what we've been asked here of Anacla, but also Nanaimo, Port Alberni tomorrow, Vancouver, Victoria, everywhere where our citizens are residing. I take that into account of what are our wishes, and I wish that I could make all of our dreams come true to see us flourish to many successes, but I will continue being a speaker and fighting for any injustice, making things right that have been wronged even from residential school. I do focus on healing because I believe without the healing, we can't move forward if we can't get over our roadblocks that we have been suffering from, those intergenerational issues that reside from residential schools. So I will continue fighting towards that. That doesn't mean that I don't respect or hold education high. I do respect that and do believe that is the key to our success, but I believe not without that healing aspect. So please vote Sheila Charles.
Thank you everyone for coming out tonight. I've been truly inspired to have so many of our Huu-Ay-Aht elders here, but also having our youth here to give us some balance and some focus on reality of where we are and where we're going. Just to finalize some of my thoughts, my top priorities are education, citizen wellness, revitalizing culture and language, building our businesses, and youth wellness. And I think I've built a good career. I've been through some personal triumphs, and I have enough behind me, being a proud Huu-Ay-Aht woman and a proud Huu-Ay-Aht mom, to offer all of my experience to the nation and hopefully bring us into a bright future. Please vote for Sherry Cook.
Thank you to everybody tonight for coming out here in Anacla. Thank you to all the citizens online that are watching. It's great to see how many citizens came out tonight. It's great to see the kids remain here the whole time. I know when I was a kid, if I was somewhere for 3 hours, I'd be pretty bored. So it's great to see these kids stay here and be in place. I want to go back to just answering a question that Rick had asked. I didn't get to finish, and I think it's really important because it's something that, if I'm re-elected, that I want to focus on. I mentioned earlier that we've done well in regards to implementing our treaty and looking at our government structure, but one of the things I feel we need to put more focus on is us as Huu-Ay-Aht. It's the reason why we got into treaty is to be Huu-Ay-Aht. And I think a big part of that is our elders, our Nenanixu, and our Hutwith. Their involvement, the resources that they need in order for our community to be successful. Because as executive council members, we play a role, but we only play a part of a role. Our leaders, our Hutwith leaders, our elders are just as important.
The Raptors won. All right, so I grew up in Parksville, Qualicum, and spent most of my childhood summers here in Anacla. And I do share the same concerns as everybody else. And I do believe that we are all equal, and communication is huge with all of us. As a business owner, I believe profitability, of course, is key. Every penny counts, and that's what I'd like to see with our nation. Building businesses, making them stronger to support us financially with our healthcare, with our elders, with our children, with building houses, building more businesses, not just inside the community, but outside as well, because we are equal. I want to see a sustainable nation. I want to see the Executive Council align with the Huu-Ay-Aht group of businesses. I want to see a realistic budget that will sustain our nation for 20 to 100 years. I want to see our people focusing on education so they can run and manage our businesses. But most of all, I want to see a safe and healthy and educated nation. I am proud to be Huu-Ay-Aht. Kleko.
I'm supposed to be brutal, and I enjoy being here and witnessing this is a great education to me, and I'm learning a lot from all of you, as I think the citizens are, and it's a real honor to be here with the candidates and listening to the answers and listening to the questions and being part of the community. Although I'm not of this community, I appreciate the witness and I appreciate it. Tomorrow, there's another all candidates meeting in Port Alberni, and I believe it'll be the similar things that we've done here tonight, and everybody is invited to Port Alberni tomorrow night at 5:30 at the Eco Center? Eco Center. Yeah. It is the Eco Center? Eco Center. Echo. All right. Any last business here? Are we completed?
I just want to thank every one of you for coming here tonight. I was really curious if everybody was going to show up to Anacla, so hats off to you for coming down. And the one thing I do want to say and remind each and every one of you is next week is going to be Aboriginal Day, and one of the things that is known, or maybe not very commonly known, it's been 50 years now that we've been residing in this community. 1969, they started to develop the first 11 houses in this village, and I really encourage everybody to come down because we're going to be celebrating 50 years in Anacla, and it's just a wonderful time. And the last thing I'd like to do is to wrap up with a song and just get us all together. And the song I want to sing is a Clean prayer song, and I want it to be just like a blessing for all of you, because the worst part is there's so many qualified candidates, but not everybody's going to make it in the office. But I want you to know that your effort and putting your name forward, it means a lot. So when I do this prayer song here tonight, it's going to be reminding each of us that the days are getting better now. Our days are going to be lifted. So that's what I'd like to finish this night off with, is a prayer song, our Thais prayer song, and just remind everybody that it wasn't that long ago where we were not allowed to sing our songs because of potlatch ban. Our language was taken away from us at residential schools. Our harvesting rights was taken away from us by DFO, bylaws and changing laws so that they could push us out of industry when they figured out how good a fishermen we were. They wanted to get us out. So our government has made so many, Canada has made so many steps to take our identity away from us, and now it's going to be our job to bring it back. So I want to do this by saying this song. So thank you all. Thank everyone for coming out tonight. Chew.
You're welcome.